Oh, and we're live. Friday Night Tights ends. Friday Night News Dump begins. Come, people, come to the stream. Send to your friends. There's no one here, I don't think.
Scott needs subs. Help him.
I need friends. I mean, I need people that love me. I need people that care. And you guys are not cutting it. So there's no one in my live chat. There's not even a like yet. I feel like
I'm looking at the video and it says the video is unavailable. It's set to private.
Oh shit. Is
That's
it really?
from the Twitter link, yeah.
Oh, I did send it. Sorry. We're going to do that all over again, boys. Let's try that. Oh, you know why? Because I did that twice. I almost did it again.
Can you set it to public?
Yep, just doing it now. Save change.
The replay is going to be great.
An error occurred. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this and this one. Oh, I don't want to do that. I can go to YouTube and probably change it, right?
Well, yeah, if you go to YouTube, shouldn't be able to change it from private to public.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how to do the streaming.
It should. I don't know about a live stream, though.
No, just
I don't know about it. So we're going to find out.
Yeah, I don't know about a live stream either. We're going to find out. It's going to be a hell of a clip.
This is an educational moment for us all.
The production value.
Yeah, we're all learning. God damn it. I'll have to do this whole goddamn thing over again.
God damn. You know how hard it was for me to get this link? My Twitter's fucked up.
Oh, shut your face. Video killed the radio star. Well, at least I'm not breaking my own heart because no one wants to come and see me.
Well, no one can. It's private.
I know
you didn't
that
expose
now.
your privates.
God, if I didn't hit go live, shit.
No, it's okay. This is brilliant. It's all right because again, YouTube's only going to post what is being posted from this part after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So all this stuff here is lost in the ether.
Ah, yeah, that's true. We are live, at least it says. That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
it's an internal live.
We're live for each other.
You know what? This is called practice live.
Yep.
Okay. And hopefully I can save my awesome thumbnail because I worked hard at that.
We'll just work on the thumb. Just redo the whole thing.
Shut your face.
Redo the whole thing.
We're going to find out. Public.
All right.
Hold on. Okay.
I guess I'll go look.
No, I don't think it's going to do it. Done. Oh, wait a minute. I think you can save it.
Oh, my God, Scott. Oh, my God, Scott.
Change saved. I think we're live now. Let's see. Let's see if we're live.
Yeah, it says live. Yeah, here it is.
Hey!
Yeah,
but that
there it is.
Did you guys get an actual, like, whatchamacallit?
A notification?
Yeah.
Yeah, no way in hell.
No, not going to happen, bro. Not going to happen.
My socks. All right, we're live. Yay.
Hi, everyone. This is actually 3 minutes into the live stream.
Hi, nobody is here.
There's a lot of people on. Mary's on. There's a lot of
a lot of people on. A lot of people on. Why don't you talk about your stupid your tweet?
It's not my tweet. Ruin the Man Baby. Anthony Ergo, hero of the Fandom Menace, who was doxxed and attempted. Anthony told everyone who he was. He was like Script Doctor. He was a parody. He was someone who was keeping his identity secret because if he had come forward as himself, it would impact his professional life. And Anthony Ergo is a writer in the UK. He has a great series on Amazon called the Dystopian series. Check it out. But he was using this account, Ruin the Man Baby, for the longest time. And then Brian Young of StarWars.com said, I'm going to do something about these Fandom Menace people, and went after Ruin because he just wouldn't shut up. He kept coming at Ryan Johnson and everyone in Star Wars. He was upset as anyone else. So, Brian tracked him down, called him one of his former employers, and then Anthony just said screw it and did a video where he just took his mask off. He was doing some YouTube videos with with a Ruin the Man Baby mask, and just exposed himself. But because he had to do that, his professional life was impacted. some of the people that he used to work with and some of the places that he used to frequent in a part of his writing group and the overall fandom, he was no longer allowed to be associated with because of Brian Young doxing him and trying to cancel him. So now that we know who the player is, Brian Young of StarWars.com says, I don't think The Last Jedi undid The Force Awakens. It told just about the only story anyone with an understanding of Star Wars could have been told based on that foundation. And I didn't know Script Doctor was going to be here, but he's the perfect person to explain why this is horseshit.
Well, yeah, The Force Awakens is even a completed movie. I mean, like, you can't really build on something that's incomplete. There's no character arc. Aside from, I guess, Finn was the closest one. It's a really slapdash film. And the other part, too, is your main character isn't even the one that saves the day in the story. I mean, their mission is to destroy the Starkiller base, and that's done by Poe. And Rey doesn't do it. Luke did it. Luke did the destruction of the Death Star, and he was technically used as a model for Rey. Yeah. But Rey didn't do anything. Rey didn't even save anyone from the Starkiller base. She didn't do anything. Rey didn't save Finn. She didn't save. She bought Kylo. She stole Kylo Ren's lightsaber, or like Luke's old lightsaber, and then fought him to technically like a standstill. They were just separated by a precipice, and then saved by Chewie. Like, she doesn't. How is she a hero? How is she a character? She has no wants or desires other than she's waiting for her family. That's not a character. That's the type of person that's an Uncle Owen. That's what Rey is. Rey is an Uncle Owen in Star Wars. She's the one that says, "Stay here. I need you for one more season." And yet she's dragged around on this adventure.
You know what's even worse, Script, is in The Force Awakens, she out forces a trained Jedi.
Here we go again.
A trained Sith apprentice that was also a Padawan to Luke Skywalker. I can't help myself now that we open this door.
None of us can.
She outforced him to get a lightsaber, like almost like it's like Harry Potter and the wand. Like the wand chooses the wizard. It's like the saber chooses the Jedi.
Do you want to know how I would end the Harry Potter series? I would have it all be a dream, and Harry Potter's still that little boy living under the stairs, and it's in a whole fantasy because his life is so terrible.
Oh, wow.
Make it dark.
That's interesting. I would have went with Harry kept the wand, and there was a chance he would go bad in the future. That's where I would have went. I thought about it.
Would have been pretty cool, but I would have absolutely loved it and appreciated J.K. Rowling far more if she said that this was just an abused boy's escapism to try and survive a terrible life situation.
I thought that would have been beautiful.
That's beautiful, man.
I've heard that theory before, and it really makes sense. It really makes sense if you think about the whole story is him under the stairs, dreaming up this fictional escape from the abuse.
And that his parents sacrificed themselves for him, even though they probably died in a horrible accident or something.
Yeah.
And that there's an evil person after him.
Although I would have appreciated some kind of clip if you were going to run with that, where they have a scene in the beginning with him and his cousin, and then all the way at the end when they go back to his childhood, there's some kind of a finality to that, like he stood up for himself. Some kind of a positive. The kid's going to be okay.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I do like that.
I think live viewer. Well, anyway, what was that?
No, I'm not getting any comments right now. That's why I see a few comments, but they're not coming up on my.
Oh, Mike Wilkes here, Hale.
Because it's still private.
Look, this is what happened.
StreamYard.
The Scott's production value is a bit low. He set the video to private.
My thumbnail was amazing. So on StreamYard, I said. I screwed it up and I set it on private, so I can't switch that on StreamYard. So I can't see comments that are live on YouTube through StreamYard, so I can't highlight anyone's beautiful comments. So I'll read them from my phone. Okay.
We'll shout out to you. No, but the thing about the lightsaber situation is that in Empire, right? Luke, you saw him have to struggle. Like he understood the concept of grabbing the lightsaber when he was trapped in the ice cave, and he had to really concentrate and dig deep just to get that thing, just to get it.
And that's what Kylo we have Rey. No
training. No training.
Right.
Yanks it out like it's nothing. Yeah.
Right. Like that's not good storytelling. Got you.
And even the
break it
explanation
down?
by the third movie does not justify that action.
Can we
Unless
back
in the
up? No,
second-
let me ask you, Stephen. How many years was Kylo Ren training for? How many years under
Well,
a Jedi and then under a Sith?
I haven't read the Disney canon novels, and I refuse to.
Well, let's assume that
Spend
Kylo
10
Ren
years?
is 30 years old. Let's assume that he's 30 years old.
Yep.
And let's say that he was training since he was a kid, maybe 8 or 9.
Right.
And he had left the
10 years with the
Jedi Academy for about 10 years. So let's say been training 12 years. 12 years as a Jedi and 10 years as a dark side user under
Snoke? Is it Snoke?
Whatever that guy is. But
or
so
Palpatine.
he could barely.
Andy Serkis being again ignored and humiliated in post for his amazing work for all the stuff he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
I rewatched Lord of the Rings trilogy the last couple days. Again, probably it
does take a couple days to get through because
it's the second time in quarantine.
Yes.
It's the second time in quarantine I've done that, and I have to say, him as Gollum is the greatest ever. He should have won an Academy Award for that. He really should have.
Yeah.
Oh, at that time, you could not win an award if you were a CGI character in a live action film,
which is bullshit.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
They didn't have a category for it, or at least stipulations for it at that time because it was such a new technology.
Let me just hail out DJ Odyssey, Michael Wolf, and according to Christy, who said, Lord Scott, okay, boomer. Yeah, I am a boomer. So let's look at this tweet one more time. I don't think The Last Jedi undid The Force Awakens. Now let's take that as its own sentence. Did it undo A Force Awakens? I don't think it undid A Force Awakens. I don't think the story went where anybody thought it was going to go, but did it undo what was already
it undid some things, yes.
Like what? What do you think?
Character development. First off,
I'm talking about the story. The
I think it's a part of the story. I mean,
I guess you're right.
You're taking fundamentally the story is about these characters. So when you take someone like Poe, who is this ace pilot, the character was one of the things they realized was so well written. They kept him alive. They changed the script to keep him alive.
Right.
And I liked that character. Finn, for instance, I loved his growth. He went from he was bumbling and scared throughout the entire movie The Force Awakens, but by the end when he grabbed that lightsaber and said, nah, you ain't with my friend, that was one of the most dope movies moments in the sequel trilogy, which is completely undone in The Last Jedi. He's the bumbling fool again, and he's playing second fiddle to a new character that nobody likes. There were things that were undone from The Force Awakens, and the other crime of that is that nothing was added to it. None of the characters were given decent character arcs, really any kind of adversary. And God, I mean, just look at everything. They killed the main villain in the second movie, and which led to the rise of Palpatine, and there just being no direction, and it's being completely discombobulated, the whole story. So
and yes, the First Order bounced back pretty hard after the Starkiller base, right? So
yeah,
pretty impressive that after that thing blew up with all those troops, all that
funding.
I thought they were up like kind of a rebellious version of the Empire, like they're trying to make a comeback.
Like a very small governmental body that's trying to weasel its way into more power, which again, good idea, was definitely not executed well by JJ, of course, because
they were supposed to be the brown shirts.
Look,
that's what they were supposed to be.
If you had basically what they were trying to do is create a new Imperial remnant. Should have kept the Imperial remnant, and when they did that, you gave us Starkiller Base, which is the manpower, time, money, resources that would have been put into something like that. You're not telling me that a rogue faction is hiding in the outer regions, the unknown regions, or you're not telling me that. Where's all that money and where's all that coming from? They didn't explain any of that. That was that core component. And then they blew up Coruscant and the core systems. Wouldn't you want those systems in order to maintain control over an entire empire or republic?
Yeah, they would have an infrastructure that would be easy to usurp.
Nice.
There's a lot of things. Like really it was essentially just a soft reboot of the original trilogy, and it didn't even take any of the stuff that made the original trilogy. If you really want to do like a holy what the hell type of moment, I would have not killed Max von Sydow at the start of the film. I would have actually kept him, and I would have had him as a prisoner. I would have had part of the mission being to rescue him. Yep. And then the big turn at the end is that when Rey is kind of wandering through the thing, she finds Max von Sydow's character, and then he goes through a ripple effect, and it turns out he's been Luke Skywalker this entire time, and he staged his disappearance to find Starkiller Base and destroy it from within. And
I would have watched that.
And the entire destruction of those 5 planets was just a force-projected illusion that Luke did over the galaxy, so that Starkiller Base would be ingesting another sun and overloading its core and destroying themselves. And their entire time, the entire third act would be a ticking clock to get off the planet.
Oh, I would have watched that movie. That
would have redeemed Luke Skywalker as the ultimate Jedi Master. It would have said that he foresaw Rey coming to him, and his whole thing was he needed the Force was going to give him 2 new students to help him, save the galaxy, and that would have been Rey and Finn. And he had to do this. He had to disappear in order to bring them out. The only way that they were going to be, the Force was going to force them to leave their lives and become Jedi was if he had to vanish for a while, and he killed multiple birds with one stone because that's what he learned how to do in the time between Return of the Jedi and this film, is that he learned how to be a Jedi that let the enemy kill themselves instead of him having to fly through a trench and destroy them for himself.
So are you saying you redid Force Awakens. So on this second part of this tweet where he's saying it told about the only story anyone with understanding of Star Wars could have told based on the foundation. Are you saying that's horseshit?
Yeah. Of course.
I want to make sure that was out there. I just wanted to make sure that Script Doctor, the pure white Avenger, had his say. Okay. And I wish right now I could do people's comments because we do have a boxy theory on the wrong podcast. So on the DJ Odyssey. And I wish I could put them up, but I actually put this stream as private first. So StreamYards won't let me, guys. So DJ Odyssey has a great one. Boxy theory. Boxy helped write The Last Jedi. Oops, wrong stream.
Hail DJ.
Yes.
The actor that they got playing him does look like he could be a young Rian Johnson. So.
Yeah. And then according to Christy, also throughout, apparently Disney, I saw this too. Disney will be doing a live version of the 1973 Robin. She put Robin Red, but for Disney Plus, according to Verge Online, I heard it's a live action but CGI Robin Hood. So like is it Robin Red? Is the one with the fox, I believe?
Well, Fox Robin Hood was that the 70s or was that the 80s?
Give me some more info. Hail Gilkman. The Gilkman is here.
Fox Robin Hood was 73.
I was going to say that. Yeah, that's like Bambi.
Well, it's not really live action. It's just like photorealistic CGI.
Yeah, right. So they're going to have that, which I am scared to see them redo.
They're just going to use the same audio from 1973.
That's all they're going to do. Pretty much, it's going to be like The Lion King, which was almost like
they're going to have a song about how foxes are underrepresented in modern movies.
They are.
I bet they will.
And I hope they have a crossover with Thumper. I want to say this one real quick.
Thumper's a Mormon.
There was there's a Elton John song that goes rolling like thunder. I used to think as a kid it was rolling like thumper under the covers. So as a kid, I'm like, what is the rabbit doing under the covers? And it makes more sense.
That sounds
now.
Like a sex term.
Yeah. So when I got into my teens, I thought he was just talking about, people going at it, man. And it was rolling like thunder.
Bunnies have a thing they do quite well, quite often.
Yes, they do. They hump.
Thumper came off as a polygamist to me.
Yeah, Thumper is kind of the animal taking out of the Animal Farm. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. He's the commie. He was the commie of the group. Yeah. He escaped the Animal Farm, but still held on to that Marxist belief, and he tried to take Bambi down with him. But guess what? Bambi didn't fall for that shit. Okay. Bambi was America.
Bambi was also a boy.
Yeah, that was a little, well, they were ahead of the time.
Like I didn't see a
Bambi
proper
was a
Disney
girl?
movie until I was in film school. Like my parents did not think Disney was a good influence for me growing up.
Well, I guess your parents were right.
There's a lot more adult themes in older Disney. You know.
I noticed that, like with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang with Snow White. Like these are films I did. I think the only one I really saw was in school was Mary Poppins, and that's because the library class that we had to show it for some reason. I think just to shut us up for 90 minutes. But but that was like the first and only Disney movie I ever saw until I went to film school.
I hate interrupting. I'll interrupt Stephen all day.
Like knobs and broomsticks.
No, you can interrupt me.
Hey, we know you like knobs and broomsticks. Listen,
it was a great one.
Hello, people out there.
Angela
I screwed up
right?
at the beginning of this, and I made this private. So can you please share it? Because I don't think notifications went out. There's tweets out there. Please retweet and send your parents or friends. God, I'm an idiot. So I wanted to look at this one. Share screen.
What do you got?
Get there. Oh, just another Disney show. Little War Machine TV series featuring RiRi Williams in development for Disney Plus.
Why anyone would name a character RiRi is beyond me.
Not
I
easy
don't know.
to pronounce. Yeah.
Is it a real name? I mean, is that like a common name somewhere in the world? Because here that means you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. Well,
I mean, they had rerun.
So you have RiRi Williams
from what's happening.
When I just off the cuff hear RiRi Williams, I don't think of a comic book character. I think who's the idiot named Williams. But, I mean, that's just RiRi. That's how it comes off to me. I just don't think it was a good choice for a name.
It doesn't really roll off the tongue, and I mean, Williams is not a common enough last name for it to require a very interesting first name. Like if it was RiRi Smith, I'd then buy that because it's like, okay, yeah, you got one interesting name for a very common surname. But Williams, I mean, I've traveled the world a lot. I maybe met like 3 Williams people with their last name Williams in my life.
I slept with a Williams once. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, like we each had, between the 3 of us, we've had like what, 4 encounters with someone with the last name Williams.
Oh, dig it! I've only met like 2 people with the last name Walton in my life.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
There was a whole show with Waltons, wasn't there?
Yeah, but really, how many people do you meet that if you're not talking about Walmart or the Waltons or like Sam's Club, like how many do you meet? And those of us that are famous, the Waltons that are famous are complete crazy assholes. So, except for Travis, he was abducted.
They'll find him.
He came back. I'm sorry.
Luckily that happened.
Did I derail?
No, not at all. There's nothing. My streams go nowhere. Don't worry about it because I'm not going to read this. I mean,
I'll say this: that this show has probably been in development since November of last year because I did get information from one of my colleagues. Like I'm part of like a system still within Hollywood that tells us what television shows and studios are still accepting pitches and whatnot. And Disney or specifically Disney Plus is officially not accepting anything new for the foreseeable future because they want to, and I quote, salvage what they currently have with their productions.
Right.
So that means that they're not doing the whole company is not doing as well as they expect, and they're the only company that's not accepting any submissions for new show ideas or movie ideas, which is really.
I just
bad
like it to be known. I'll shut up.
Yeah, like nobody, like ABC is still doing it. CBS Viacom is still accepting stuff, and their stock's like tanking.
Yeah.
So I mean that if a company that's kind of on a sinking ship is still accepting pitches and production ideas for new productions, and you have Disney, which is one of the biggest companies in the world right now for media, not accepting anything, that's bad.
That's real bad.
It's terrible. Yeah. So I can suspect that this is some old news that's being resurfaced now just to get some interest in it, because maybe it's the people who are working on it don't want it to be canned,
Right.
as like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series currently is, and that's being retooled, and they don't even know what's going on with that as of yet. And
so are you saying, Script, are you saying that they had so much, not in develop, well, do you consider development ideas too? Like, do they have
development
so much?
is the very, very basic stuff. It's basically like someone went into one meeting and said, I have this idea, and they didn't reject it outright. So it's technically still in development.
Well, then they had too much in development that they couldn't, this beer bug just knocked them on their ass, and they're like, holy shit, we have so much stuff. Like, we can't take anything else on right now.
Look, America is.
There's never such thing as too much.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, then that's
I think
scary.
it's basically because I suspect, I don't have anything to confirm this. I wish I did, but I suspect because The Rise of Skywalker did not make a single dime, and they were expecting that money to pay for the production and also to invest in for other shows, that they're not able to afford anything else, so they have to dip into the loans that they've taken out. And
Doctor,
yeah,
when you say that Star Wars has The Rise of Skywalker didn't make a single dime, how sure of that are you?
I'm sure without any doubt. There's just no way. Number one, we saw zero marketing, and like the marketing we did see was like nothing greater than what you would get for like a C-level horror film.
Right.
I mean, it was. I didn't see any. The only posters I saw or billboards I saw for The Rise of Skywalker were coincided with service providers like Verizon, Bell, and cable shows. Like, there was nothing for it on its own. I didn't see any bus ads. I didn't see any flyers.
Right.
I saw nothing that we saw when compared to The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi.
And
Absolutely
that's
zero.
not the fault of it filming to the week before release, right? They could have sent out something marketed wise.
The reason they couldn't do it is they didn't have the money for it, and the reason they didn't have the money for it is I highly suspect that they reappropriated the funds for the marketing to go to pay for post-production. And what Disney is going to say on the books publicly is that they spent like $300 million to make this movie, but I suspect it was close to $700 million because they literally made another movie out of it, and they were doing post-production on it up till I think the Sunday before it released.
Wow.
Which means that you have to pay a lot of people a lot of money in order to get that done. And on top of that, they even revealed that all the ships at the very end of that movie, it took like 70,000 hours of render time in order to get it done. And that means that they had to have had every single post-production office running 24/7 from, I think, August to, I guess, the Sunday in order to meet that, in order for that to be accurate. Like, you got to start doing the math of what special effects were accurate, how many offices they had, and then break it down into days and weeks. And if someone can find that tweet, it was like a tweet. There's also an article of how many hours of rendering time it took for all those starships at the end, and that was just the Rebel side. That wasn't even the side of the Final Order.
Well, the Final Order would have pretty much copy and paste. I know it's
cut and paste. Cut
and paste.
Well, you copy and paste your models, and then once you get it all composite, you still have to render, and that's going to take however many hours, even on the supercomputers.
But imagine every ship on the Rebel side was different because they just had to fit every ship that was ever thought of.
They were making an attempt. In that, I have to give them credit. They were making an attempt to create some kind of a unified feeling within the fandom to show us all those different types of ships from all those different shows. No matter what you liked, there was something there. And in the context of the entire movie and that scene and what was going on, yes, it's stupid, but it could have been.
That was like it could, but it was. I think it was done for those YouTube channels that break down Easter eggs. Let's see how many of them we can find. Like, that's why they did that. That's why they did that.
They have a video for every ship for the next 10 years, and that shit shot alone.
Exactly.
Agree.
Exactly.
Agreed. No, I don't think there definitely was a commercial pitch in doing it, but I just think that the attempt was made. At least one person in there, at least one creator said, this might make a lot of fans happy.
Absolutely. And also, if they ever made toys, they would make a lot of money selling every ship that was in that thing, but there are no toys for it either. And so there also, Disney is being investigated for cooking the books for their parks of $6 billion too. So
they are.
I mean, there's clearly some, and they're also in the hole for $70-odd billion for the Fox acquisition, which was, and they're not really doing much with that, especially with Disney Plus, because they can't. They really just should have prioritized what they wanted to buy from Fox and just stuck with the Marvel properties instead of trying to get the whole deal and then let other studios buy the rest of the pieces of Fox. And I mean, NBC Universal would have done great with the Alien franchise, in my opinion. Paramount would have been pretty good with some of the other stuff that properties are left over, like the Die Hard series and whatnot, because Paramount does Mission Possible stuff.
Right.
So that kind of works in there. There's definitely opportunities for other companies to have taken out loans and broken up Fox into different areas, but because Disney acquired all of it and they're now just kind of squandering away these IPs, and whatever ones they are kind of re-releasing or doing, they're manipulating and changing the footage and whatnot. So it's just weird. But yeah, Disney did not make any money off of Star Wars. They're most likely never going to make any money off of Star Wars unless things change dramatically.
Yeah.
Dramatically, it's not going to be. It's not going to be Project Luminous. You know, the High Republic.
Oh, the books. The books wouldn't make the money much, anyways. I mean.
Well, I mean, just to kick off a franchise, you know, if the books are popular enough, then you can move into something else. You can possibly even film. Yeah. You know, that's where it starts.
That's their goal.
That's what they're thinking. Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question. Calamity Sai brings up a good. You guys want to talk about copy and paste? What about the fleet in the last episode of Picard? So, which was better, the fleet in Picard or the Sith fleet at the end of episode 9?
Well, oddly enough, the fleet in Picard, the only change between all those ships was the nacelles. They had 3 different types of nacelles that were used on all the same primary and secondary hulls. Like, that was it. Like the saucer and the big elongated tube of every ship was identical, but the nacelles, they had lights positioned in different parts, and that was the only difference between any of them.
I didn't even notice that.
It's so cheap.
Yeah, but it's just so cheap. It was basically like they made 3 or 4 different models, and then they copied and pasted them all out. And of those 3 to 4 different models, the only thing that was different were the nacelles. That was
so pissed
because that's all they had time for, I guess.
You know what I compare that to? Script. I compare that to some of the Dominion scenes in Star Trek DS9 when you see the different types of ships going into battle. Just the detail and the differences and the types of hulls. We have lost so much quality in Star Trek. It is unbelievable.
They had Galaxy class. They had Nova class. They had the Akira.
I love the Defiant classes.
The Nebula class. They even had some Constitutions and Excelsiors and Mirandas in those shots, which were like 100-plus-year-old ships.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the callbacks to that that means something to fans that have been around for a while, and it also introduces your younger fans to some of the older styles that they might go back and recognize from earlier in these franchises. They just they don't think about these things.
So that was done correct, but when we got the Rebel fleet, that was done wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
you're talking about are you comparing between the Federation and the Rebel fleet?
Well, now I'm comparing what you guys are talking about with the Rebel fleet. So, right? Are you talking about the Rebel fleet, or were you talking?
No, we were talking about the.
In Star Trek DS9,
that's what I'm talking
Deep Space
about.
Nine, there's a war, and they have a whole collection of Federation ships versus the Dominion ships. Now, the Dominion ships are all kind of like the same configuration, but the Federation ships have all different like kit bashes going on. And then, conversely, with the Rise of Skywalker, the Star Destroyers, or those Super Star Destroyers, or whatever they want to call them. Those are all pretty much the same design, except for the one with the antenna on it. And then opposite that, all the Resistance or Rebel or Galactic Citizen ships, they're all like unique vessels.
Right.
So, I mean,
so done correctly, though, you have a fleet that is honoring the past, but you can imagine that they would have that fleet out there.
Yeah.
Now in Star Wars, they had ships from shows, cartoons, from series,
and hundreds of brand new designs as well. Yeah.
Right. That's just no. They couldn't get that together in a half hour. I'm sorry. It was done correctly in DS9, not done correctly in Star Wars. And
because that's the other flaw with J.J. Abrams. He has no concept of time and distance.
Right.
It's a galaxy, right? It takes days to go from one end to the other. Days.
Right.
Regardless of what you may think what's going on within Empire Strikes Back, Luke isn't really on Dagobah for more than maybe a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that also goes to show the danger of the Force, which is that it's very easy to learn the skills, but because it's easy to learn the skills, it's easy to fall to the dark side. What you need in order to practice and train is the discipline, which takes years, that's how you become a true Jedi. And that's why Yoda talks about quicker and easier, is because you're just recycling the skills that you learned, but you're letting the emotions, the negative emotions, allow you to guide you, as opposed to your disciplined mind and focus to let it be the way.
He was also too old. He didn't want to train him because of that age. Because at a younger age,
there's ingrained ideas. Because a running thing between Empire and Jedi, a running theme that Luke doesn't quite understand is the difference between destroy and kill. Because he's a rebel in Empire. He's not a Jedi in Empire.
Right.
He's a rebel. He's a rebel with Force powers, and so he's got a rebel mentality, which is that you kill your enemy, you kill the bad guys.
Right.
Yep.
And he carries that with him, and you have to attack. And when he's in the cave, the first thing he does when he sees Vader is he ignites his lightsaber. And then when he's on Bespin, the first time he sees Vader, he ignites his lightsaber. And in both situations, he fails the combat. He may have chopped Vader's head off in the cave, but Yoda's like, you failed. Like, that's not what the point of the Force is. And then when he fights Vader there, he loses his hand and has to run away. He failed. But it's not until Return of the Jedi, when he's talking with Ben and he's saying, I can't kill my own father. And Ben looks at him. He's like, well, then the Emperor has already won. And it's not because he's saying you have to kill your father. It's because he's saying, we're teaching you the lesson that you're not destroying the body. You're just destroying the point of view. And that's what he's talking about from our own point of view. Is the whole concept is the debate. Jedi uses their own point of view to convince their enemy that they're on the wrong side and to offer them a helping hand to come back to the light. And it's the best written part within that movie. And that movie is not really, like, I guess, considered the best of all the entire series, but it does have the best thematic aspect, which is that you defeat your enemy by convincing them that they've made a mistake and offering them a hand out.
Right. When they're in that thing. Well, huge. When they're in that scene where Luke is first seeing Vader after he was captured in Return of the Jedi, I think that's one of the best scenes of the trilogy, personally. I think he's talking to him when he's talking about, oh, you completed your own lightsaber, but Luke is all about, not using that lightsaber, like you just said, and using his point of view, and trying to turn him that way instead of beating him physically, which a Sith would do, or a rebel warrior.
Exactly. And on top of that too, the other part was what's motivating Luke to do this is his feelings. Right. His desire to see the man he imagined in his head who was his father, because up until that point he had no understanding of who his father was. He knew he was a great Jedi master or warrior, whatever, what have you. So he painted in his own mind what he think his father would be. And then when he finds out who his father actually is, he can't reconcile with that. So he is pleading with himself and with Vader to be the Anakin Skywalker that he thinks his father should be.
Right.
And he doesn't know and Anakin doesn't really know what that man is, because, again, he doesn't know much about Luke other than his battles and their brief interactions. But it's not until the very end when he's like, Luke just needed the bare minimum, which is that his dad would reject darkness. And that's what he does at the end. And that's what Palpatine represents. He's not a very fleshed out character of Palpatine. Like, at all.
He's the evil guy.
He's evil incarnate. He's the devil on Vader's shoulder.
Right.
And if you didn't have the prequel trilogy, if you didn't have the sequel trilogy, you could totally say that Darth Vader is like Tyler Durden before Tyler Durden. The Emperor's not real. The Emperor is just a manifestation of Darth Vader through the Force, and Darth Vader's pretending to be subservient to him, but Vader's really the big power guy. And it's only his son that comes in and says, no, you're not this guy. you can do something, and just like Edward Norton just shoots himself in the face, kills Tyler Durden by throwing him off there, and you have debates for decades about whether or not the Emperor is a real character or just a force projection that Vader, who is incredibly powerful, could do.
I love we had a stream once where you brought up that the Emperor being the dark side incarnate. And I loved when you talked about that. I thought that was very interesting how there is really no physical body with the Emperor. He was actually just the dark side.
He's a dark side parasite off of a fallen Jedi. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's how you can really make it so that it doesn't rob anything from Anakin.
Right.
Because any Jedi that tiptoes over towards the dark side could be a prey to this dark force entity. Because even though there's a lot of fun things about this, and I did the comment on that on your last video about it, the balance of the force, the concept of the balance of the force, the prophecies, they're all fun to play with, but they actually ruin the mystique of what Star Wars is.
Right.
The fact that you have, when you make the prophecy, you then elevate the character of Anakin and Luke Skywalker to something bigger than what they actually are. Mm-hmm. And it takes away the fact that Anakin was just really strong in the Force. Right. And he just happened to go on this side and do all these things. But when they make it where he's now the strongest and he's a prophetic character, you kind of ruin the fragility of the Jedi.
Right.
Because now it's like, well, then they never stood a chance. And I think it would have been far more interesting if there was a chance for the Jedi to have been able to defend themselves from the likes of Vader, because he wasn't this all-powerful. He was just that good. He was just that skilled enough and that determined to embrace the dark side, to do what he was able to do with the help of the Emperor.
Right.
And I also like the fact that you have Obi-Wan, who is, by all accounts, just a very well-trained Jedi who was still able to defeat him. Because that's the hard thing I can't understand to reconcile with Revenge of the Sith, regardless of how much I enjoy that film, is that Obi-Wan is nothing special.
No.
By any means. Yet he took out Vader.
Well, the way they make it is he took out Vader because of Vader's overconfidence in his ability.
Exactly.
Which that was the only reason I was like, okay, I could believe that.
Yeah, but I also think it poses the question of like skill and focus versus emotion and recklessness, right? So,
right.
But when you build up for those three movies that Anakin's supposed to be the best and the best, but he's not living up to what the Jedi Council feels of him, and they're trying to like temper his emotions and make him the best Jedi he can be, but he's not getting any affirmation that he's already as good as he thinks he is.
Right.
And what ruins that ability is the prophecy, because he knows about the prophecy that he's supposed to be this guy. He's trying to live up to this prophecy, and it kind of takes away from his character being just an average Jedi. And the potential and why the dark side is so dangerous is that any average Jedi that embraces it could do terrible things to the whole institution. But as soon as you elevate him to being like the best ever, or the supposed one that's going to do all these things to help the Jedi and the galaxy, you then kind of are sort of setting up for failure right away, and then you're not going to have much fun with it. It's always more interesting when you have your average Joe character gain a great amount of power and then abuse it, as opposed to
which we all hope Ray would do.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to like an already powerful character that just inevitably decides to abuse the power.
Right.
It's like when you get a lazy writer writing Superman and make him become a god on the planet and just rule with an iron fist. It's boring. You're like, okay, I see that. But if you were to have, say, a character like Batman do that, where Batman managed to like take out and imprison all the supers and then put himself on there, you're like, wow, well, yes, he may have a brilliant mind. He may have trained his body to its most physical peak, but he still has a lot of these physical limitations and flaws, yet he managed to accomplish this. It's like, wow, anyone who just had that determination and those resources could really do something terrible.
Right. Well, that's why I really liked the prequels a lot, because in the prequels, Palpatine had that power, but he couldn't show it, because if he showed it too early, he would have been beaten down by the Jedi. So he had to take his time, corrupt Anakin, and take over the Senate by allowing them to think that they're the ones putting him in power when he really is the one putting himself in power. It's the only thing I really consider the prequels his story, It's not Anakin's story. It's
It's very
Palpatine's
much
story.
a Palpatine story. It was,
and now with this new ending, I mean, it's Palpatine's. It really is
Palpatine
a Palpatine
all the way through.
all
Yeah,
the way through. Yeah,
it is. And the other part that kind of disappointed me with the prequels is that they kind of did the Clone Wars injustice. I mean, what is the best way to actually, like, you're playing with clones, and what are clones but just, you know, they're body snatchers. Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a clone story. So it's now the whole issue with the Clone Wars is that it's clones versus robots, which has no personal hold to any of the characters. But if you were to say have clones of political leaders or generals or people of influential power that are being replaced and then doing things to favor a character like Palpatine, and then you start bringing in paranoia, you could liken it to the Russiagate system that we
you
went
could,
through
but
just recently.
It's Star Wars. You need a war.
But it's Star Wars. But you can still say, like, oh, well, we can't. You have people or senators and whatnot characters saying, you know what? I don't like this planet for some reason because they're doing something weird, and it just completely throws everybody off. But you then added a new aspect to the lore, which is that Jedi can detect through the Force who's a clone and who's not. And when the Jedi say, hey, this political leader is a clone, and then their people says, well, we can't believe you because we still like what he's doing, and he's kind of answering what we're saying. But the Jedi's like, no, you have to get rid of him and elect someone new. Then you have grounds for the people to turn on the Jedi because they can then manipulate their concerns as being they're trying to usurp power away from the people. The Jedi are guardians of peace and justice, and now they're overstepping their power and telling us what we should do with our elected officials. And therefore, you have the whole galaxy turn against the Jedi, and then you see the Purge being a lot more believable because it's not just a bunch of clone troopers turning their backs on Jedi while they're leading them into battle. It's now a very systemic attack on each and every one of them, and then there's mistrust. And then that sort of makes why people in Luke's time, like, you know, not understand the Jedi. Some fear them, and some think that they're a myth because they were infrequently seen throughout the galaxy up until that point. And there's nothing more entertaining than not knowing who your enemy is, especially in fiction, especially in science fiction or science fantasy. If you don't know who you can trust, then you go to the one leader that says, I know how I can fix this, and that would be Palpatine, who says, we'll fix this right now. We'll get rid of the Jedi. They're telling us who our leaders should be. That's not Jedi. That's not right. The hell with them. We don't need them. What have they been doing for us anymore? They're nomadic. They're mysterious. They know magic.
They shouldn't be fighting wars, you know?
They shouldn't be fighting with us. They shouldn't be telling us how to live. I mean, that's what the whole thing should be. And then you can have Darth Vader, Anakin being a new Jedi on that side, being like, you know what? Yeah, why are the Jedi telling their people that the people that they put in power are wrong and evil and whatnot? And he could be like, thinking of it democratically, but being easily manipulated by the context of the situation, which is that the Jedi are not taking it upon themselves to rid these people in political power that are clones, that are put there by Palpatine, but they're saying, like, no, you've got to look closer at them. You've got to see that their behavior is not consistent with who they were, with how they got to the power that they have, how they earned your trust. And people just reject that idea because they don't want to trust the Jedi. There's a whole bunch of you have, like, you know, the fake news aspect, all these things that we're seeing now with the political despair that we get with those in office could have been easily foretold in a Clone Wars story when you have people that you cannot trust. And that makes sense about how you can break a galaxy apart when you can't trust anyone because there are clones being invaded and infiltrating into your systems and organizations. And that's the easiest way to start a clone war, which is where people get paranoid. They start assassinating their political leaders because they think they're clones, and some are and some aren't. And that can break the whole galactic republic apart, and then makes it very vulnerable for someone like Palpatine to come in and take over. And it's a lot easier and more believable to follow than separatists in a war. And like, I don't even understand how. I understand, like, yeah, Palpatine gets more powers and creates into an empire, but how does he unite the planets that are fighting among each other at all? Like, it just happens so quickly without any understanding. It just boggles my mind.
Well, I think that the system was so weakened because of how much peace that they had. there really hadn't been any wars. I mean, and the Jedi were keepers of the peace. They would go out and settle local disputes, and there were most likely still different planets or different systems that had some kind of a cultural or xenophobic view of one another, or there was definitely some kind of conflicts going on. But I don't think that the Republic as a whole had any kind of major conflict in a very long time. So
all it was bureaucracy.
Well, bureaucracy, right?
Because that part I understand with like the break apart, like at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. But even by Order 66 time, there were still like countless planets that were not subservient, that were still part of the separatist movement, that were not willing to join this new empire or the old Republic, as it were. So it's like, but yet by the very end of the film, everything's all unified into a galactic empire with possibility for a rebellion to form.
Well, I think that was a short form tie-up. I think that was just a short form tie-up. I mean,
I would doubt that, man. I would doubt that, because he doesn't dissolve that empire, the Galactic Senate, until
A New Hope.
Star Wars. New Hope,
which about 17 years later. Yeah,
exactly. So in that 17 years, he is still playing that game until he consolidates a lot of power, and then he becomes. I mean, he's the emperor. Don't get me wrong, but he still needs the Senate to play the game of, you guys still have rights, so it was a 17-year journey before he dissolves it. So think of it that way. It didn't
a lot of that time was probably what I would infer would be spent bringing in those systems that still wanted to have nothing to do with the Galactic Empire, like Script was talking about. It would have been a lot of it would have been a lot of rebellions, small rebellions, still going off for years to come after Order 66.
Yeah, right. Now, you brought up something a little bit before, and this stream turned into Star Wars and things like that.
We were talking about RiRi Williams, didn't it?
We'll get back to that.
I don't want to get back to that. Okay, and I'm sorry if no one wants to listen to us bitch about RiRi and bitch about freaking Jon Snow and the new, freaking CGI Black Knight freaking costume. I don't care about that right now. You know what I do care about is you brought up prophecies, and done well, which I replied to you in my video, was George R.R. Martin does it great, because his prophecies mean jack. He doesn't believe in prophecies. He says exactly what you're saying, that prophecies can tie you into a corner because you're expected to make that prophecy come true in some way. So what he does is he makes, like, one of the prophecies, I'll just take one, was Cersei Lannister. When she's a young girl, there's this old, well, not old in the show, I don't know if she's old in the book, I can't remember, but her name's Maggie the Frog, and she lives outside of Lannisport, or the Rock, Casterly Rock, and this cocky young girl who thinks she might be a princess someday goes to her and is like, I want to know my fortune and my future. And it's blood magic. It's always blood magic. But all she takes is a little prick of her blood and tastes it. And she tells her, you will marry a king. And she's like, well, how many children will we have? And the Maggie the Frog says, you will have 3. He will have like 17, so like, they won't have children together. And, your children will have crowns of gold and shrouds of gold, meaning to the fact that they will be all kings or queens, but they're all going to die. And from that point on, and there's another part about the, I forget the term they use, but the little brother will kill you. They don't do that in the show, but let's just take that part. So the 3 kids, it almost becomes after her first child's death in the books, Joffrey, who's a douchebag and deserved to die. She makes it almost it's like a self-actualized, fulfilling prophecy. She does things that causes this, like sending her daughter away to a country that doesn't like them, like that thinks that their father killed their sister, so she's doing things that, overprotective of the youngest son to the point that it's going to do him harm. So it's almost like, okay, there is a prophecy, but you created it. It didn't come true because it was the prophecy. It's because you heard it and now you believed it was going to come true. So
yeah,
now
it's the
you
manipulation.
and then there's other prophecies that might mean one thing, but like almost like an Asian prophecy. Like, I forget that movie where the crane's above, and it's actually like cranes that are like mechanical cranes, not flying cranes. Like things like that. Like you never what was it? Something monk, kung fu monk. I forget.
There's a monkey. Yeah,
Not a
Iron
monkey.
King
Whoa,
thing?
let's not be racist.
Was it Iron Monkey?
No, Iron Monk. Something about a monk. It's the dude who was in. He was in American Pie. He was the guy, the Stifler.
Okay, Sean William Scott. Yeah.
Oh. Where he was like trained himself watching movies or some shit.
Right, but then
Chow Yun-fat.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that one. So it's like you're misinterpreting. You have to interpret it what it's actually giving you, and you're expecting it to be something else. So he hates them because they will box you in. So he makes them very like he has prophecies that will never come true. I know it. And people are depending on it to come true, and he'll never touch on it again.
Well, the other thing to think about as a writer when doing a prophecy is, do you want this prophecy to be self-actualized, or you want this prophecy to be a manipulation from the person that's giving it? So who's the character that's introducing the prophecy, and what is it that they tend to gain from the prophecy?
Exactly.
And that's what you have to sort of bring in. But what Lucas unfortunately did was he just had a very matter-of-fact prophecy. Like all the Jedi around him that spoke of this prophecy spoke it as, this is what's happening.
Right.
It's not, there's nothing more to it than that.
And it's fulfilled, but it's not fulfilled for, 3 more movies, which is, I thought was the only way he got around that, which was a good way, because he created the prophecy before he created the story of Anakin. Yeah, he probably had it in his head, but he had to go back and show how he failed that prophecy. So then his son can help him complete.
Yeah. Well, he made it so that he would be able to have dramatic irony in the series, and also to have something extra layered into the original trilogy. And it's really just done for, it sort of prevents you from being able to watch the films in chronological order as a result. Because if you watch them in chronological order and you say, oh, there's this prophecy that this kid is going to bring balance to the Force, and you have no understanding or knowledge of the original trilogy,
right?
You don't feel the dramatic irony of what's going to happen as things progress, which also is detrimental. But if you were completely remove that out and be like, yes, he's just this normal kid who happens to be pretty strong in the Force, so we're going to train him, and then through a series of events, he ends up falling to the dark side. Then when you get into the original trilogy, you have the dramatic irony of knowing that Vader is the father character, but then you also see the power of the son redeeming the father, and the father kind of coming to terms with his issues and casting aside the dark side. So it still all encapsulates, but then you add in this thing about balance to the Force and a prophecy, and then you then make the Force far more important than what it should really be. Right, because the Force should just be something. It shouldn't. The Force is technically
shouldn't be a main character.
It shouldn't. It's a path, and the characters choose whether they walk on the dark side or the light side.
But
the Force shouldn't be able to manipulate you in any way. It's you manipulate the Force.
Right.
Well, what I do
so
like
balance is relevant.
But if you do go from the very first one and you have no idea of the original trilogy, when you get to the third movie, you're like, oh, well, that was bullshit. He isn't the savior. And then you find out he's a genocidal, destructive force that's going to try to kill his own kid or turn him.
He's killing me.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And by
tortures
the end,
his daughter.
and also but then you find when he kills the Emperor and then dies, do you realize, does it take you a moment to say, wait a minute, let me look back. Holy shit, he did fulfill that. But it needed his son's love to he feared everyone dying on him, and it took his son that he never knew.
Is the prophecy about Anakin or Luke, though?
It's about Anakin, but it needed Luke. Because
the other part you have to ask is, what does the prophecy really serve overall with the story?
It's the fallen,
because I mean,
of Anakin Skywalker.
You didn't
the
need
destruction
it
of the Emperor is one thing that frees, that just takes out the Emperor, really. And it just means that there's not another dark side user as that powerful at that moment. But the Empire doesn't mean it collapses. I mean,
Well,
there's a
right.
power vacuum, right? So
No, but what it does is it destroys the Sith. Both the Sith master and apprentice die in the same.
Palpatine is also about redundancy, so he had redundancies in place for these types of things. Like, this is where I wouldn't have minded the clone story taking place. It wasn't handled from the beginning in the sequel triology, so it didn't make sense.
They didn't realize that they had to do that.
Right, it didn't make sense. But I mean, I think that Palpatine displayed himself as a person who has always had redundancies. He's always had backups. He's always planned ahead for different failures. So him falling, he would have had. I mean, ultimately, he wouldn't have wanted that to happen. But being the type of personality that he is, if he could keep himself alive, somehow transferred his essence, he would have, or he would have set in place motion for dominoes to fall that would destroy and burn everything down.
Right. Well, don't forget that article I read. They try to say that Luke says in The Last Jedi that Palpatine was only dead for, that body. The transfers, he was only dead for a hot second, as the writer put it. So Anakin only brought balance to the Force for a hot second.
The other part too that they don't clarify in the OT, and I think they only try to do it in the expanded novels, is what does the Force imbalance look like?
Right, because if the Force has been in balance, if the Force for 1,000 years for 1,000 years there's always been Sith. They just didn't know it.
Well, but you're talking about balance. The Force was not in balance during that time. The light side of the Force governed everything. The Jedi had control. They were the marshals of the known galaxy at that point. So there had not been balance. Bringing balance to the Force is in essence a return of the Jedi. I mean, Luke is the only one left, but the playing field has been leveled across the galaxy at that point.
Right. So yeah, very good way of putting it. He was the last Jedi.
He was.
Well, yeah, he was the return of the Jedi.
Right.
Like that's
exactly.
Right.
And remember, he doesn't learn that lesson until he realizes that he can't defeat the Emperor with a lightsaber. He's got to destroy everything that the Emperor stands for and his entire philosophy, and he does that by convincing his star pupil to not follow through with the dark side anymore.
Do you think? Oh, go on, please.
No, go ask.
Go on. No, because I was about to say something stupid. I always wondered after we found out that Snoke was a clone and he was being controlled, pretty much just a puppet of Palpatine. Do you think like the whole time Palpatine, as he's like, puppeting him, is like, let's call it the First Order, and we're almost the same exact uniforms. I can't believe these people don't realize I'm just building the Empire again. Like you ever think like he's like, oh my God, I'm going to take
get your ass in here.
Skywalker. I'm going to take a Skywalker apprentice. Yeah, finally, I sent the goddamn link, man. I'm going to take a Skywalker apprentice again. This is going to be so funny. No one's going to catch that it's me. This is great. And then he dresses like freaking the Red Viper.
I like how we really tried to get onto the topics other than Star Wars and we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. I wanted to bring up one thing though, if I can, just real quick. I wanted to offer this. One difference. If you made one difference in the sequel trilogy, I think it would have affected the entire sequel trilogy. Instead of kidnapping children for the First Order, why were you not hunting down Force users to indoctrinate them into the dark side, create a new Sith Empire?
Well, weren't they kind of okay? So
well, they were kind of sort of doing that, but okay. But this is what I'm saying. If Luke, at that point, if you had taken the track that was supposed to have happened, where Luke creates a new Jedi Academy and begins seeking out other Force users and training them and creating new Jedi, then the whole fall of his temple would have meant a lot more. Yeah. And it also would have meant a lot more to people all across the galaxy. So by the time you come to the conclusion of Luke coming back or sacrificing himself, to save or do whatever the finale, the climactic finale would have been, then you have that scene where all those different ships showed up from all across the galaxy. You could have worked that into the entire story, because all the kids would have come from across the galaxy and all these different cultures, and everyone would have showed up in the final battle to fight with Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, defending against the Emperor. You could have even still had Palpatine. You could have continued that. You could have had that whole clone story if you had done it properly.
Like he drops the idea of 2 and he goes back to a synthetic.
Just to hell with it. Yeah, the hell. That's it. Right. He died. It didn't work.
That.
2 wasn't enough. He needs an empire. So he goes back to the Old Republic.
There's never been a need for really a rule of 2. Lucas did that just to make sure that he didn't have to come up with more Sith characters.
Yeah, okay, take it.
That's
so you
really
know.
what it was.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not coming up with more Sith characters. I only have Vader and the Emperor, and even then, the Emperor only became a a Jedi or a Sith by the second movie. They had no idea he was going to be a Sith in A New Hope.
When you look at the original trilogy, I mean, really, it's a very contained trilogy. You don't really need to expound on it. You don't need to make A New Hope. You don't need to make that episode 4. That could have been 1, 2, and 3. It was very contained. Everything else that's been expanded upon it is just trying to work within the framework of the original trilogy. And so, I mean, you know, that's all you needed, really. When I was a kid, that's all I needed. The Vader and the Emperor. That was it. That's all I needed.
So.
You know?
Real quick, Tommy, I love you, man. We are not talking about the new trilogy at all. We're actually just playing around with the ideas of the old trilogy with different types of
we're being nerds.
We're being nerds. That's it, man. Don't worry about it. We are not
a
playing
nerd stream.
One.
No plan.
I really wish right now I didn't set this to private at the beginning and StreamYard would allow me to highlight some of the things that are being said, because there are some really good things people are saying in here. We do have another Boxy theory.
Let's go through the chat then.
Yeah, let's do that. Boxy theory. Boxy was kidnapped to become part of the Empire. Damn it. Still wrong stream. Never mind.
DJ. That's DJ.
Love him. TT. I think a lot of people might forget the Sith and the Jedi are only two groups that use the Force. As we have seen, there are others, and that is absolutely true.
They're just disciplines. Two disciplines of something that surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together.
Right. Look at Ahsoka Khan. I know. I was going to say the same thing. Penetrates us. I mean, Ahsoka, I mean, she is more of a gray Jedi than, I don't like that term, but she is. She has more balance of the idea of what the Force really is.
I love the Force, which is
was the first one that really kind of did both.
And let me ask you, did Mace Windu, did he actually, was his fighting style that tapped into the dark side?
Yes.
Was that a theory, or was that actually?
It's in the novel. Because when Mace Windu was having that the fight with Palpatine, he was reflecting the dark side back on him. He had an understanding of the dark side and used it in his technique, so that specifically for fights like that. He, because he could basically be defensive while Palpatine is being offensive, and his defense was reflecting that aggression back on him, and actually made Mace more powerful. And,
he's a know your enemy type of character. So in order to do that, you have to understand the dark side and know what it's capable of doing, so that you can defend better against it without being corrupted by it.
Right, and had Anakin not turned, he would have been able to continue his education in the things he was interested in the dark side, safely. Because Mace, if he had kept Mace's trust, then Mace would have trained him in that technique, which would have perfectly suited Anakin's personality.
I could totally see Samuel Jackson turning to Anakin and be like, listen, we just defeated the Emperor. Now, in case another one comes again, I'm going to teach you how to defeat other bad motherfuckers like this guy. And then,
goddamn bad motherfuckers, he said. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, and also don't forget, because the book also states it, which I hate that they don't explain it in the movies. Because when I first saw it in the 90s, I was like, what the hell just happened? When Palpatine jumps and does that scream, it's a Force scream. That's why those guys were so unprepared to fight him. They did it so wrong in that movie. You're just like, wait a minute, he did a spin move and they got like tricked, like, their eyes, like, oh my god,
it's like, oh my god, this 90-year-old man just did a barrel roll towards us, and he screamed really like a banshee, and they're like, they're probably thinking to themselves, did that really happen?
I mean, really what he was doing was a Force scream, and it threw them off. They weren't ready for that, because it's piercing, and it's the Force, so it's like me talking.
Script Doctor Palanuki says Boxy is the one who would have helped Palp wash, go to toilets, and things like that.
Oh god,
he would have been Boxy would have been Palpatine's ball washer. That's basically what he's saying.
Oh, I get what you're
saying. The stool groomer.
Yeah, he would have been the bathroom attendant.
Yep.
Final Death Star, where are you? You confirmed that was at 10:24. It is now 10:26. That's 2 freaking whole minutes, man.
Damn.
Yeah, that's how I go. And don't forget, everyone, hit like, share this, and I'm sorry,
please share.
Because I screwed up.
Yeah, he messed up.
So Nancy at the very beginning, I hope Nancy's still here. I don't know. But Nancy said they did get the notification. So I'm happy about that. And don't forget to respect the guinea pig.
Oh, hey, Nerd Cookies is here too.
Nerd Cookies, if you want to jump on,
let
us know, we'll throw you a link.
Come on in and bullshit with us.
Yeah. Tommy too. Tommy, if you want to jump in, man, feel free.
Yeah, get Tommy.
Tommy, I like
Tommy's
talking
all about the group thing.
Star Wars, old Star Wars with Tommy. So, God, man, we really changed what we were going to go with this stream, and I'm liking it.
Amber Turd. Let's talk about Amber Turd for a minute. How about that?
Yeah, Amber Turd. She shit the bed. Okay, man.
She should go to jail, but she probably won't because she can afford some very good lawyers.
Right. I mean, she did some horrible things. If she did what they're saying she did, and Johnny Depp almost lost his career, pretty much lost his career there for 2 years.
Lost a lot of respect. Oh yeah, he
lost the Disney aspect of it, but he's still working, so he's.
What always
made me happy, but yeah,
right. But what always made me happy was women always came to his defense. You know, there was Winona Ryder. There was who else came? There was a couple others.
I think two of his ex-wives came to his defense.
Right.
Too.
The French girl came to his defense, and we're like Paradine, I think her name is, or Pear or something.
Do you think any of those exes were I mean, rightfully saying things in defense, but also thinking from the perspective of I'm more of a man than him. I'd kick his ass. What are you talking about?
Dude, he is a straight up 90s hippie. Okay?
Yeah, straight up.
He's a straight up 90s hippie.
No hate. I love Johnny Depp. I'm not trying to insult him.
I always wanted to go to the Viper Club.
But he's not somebody who's going to intimidate me.
No, not at all. Not at all. Even when he comes up to you
his first real job was pretending to be a kid who is also a cop.
21 Jump Street.
Oh, I loved 21 Jump Street, dude.
Me too,
I
man.
loved him in Nightmare on Elm Street. He was a great character.
Oh, dude, I was scared to sleep in a bed for fucking a month after that, dude. When he got sucked through that bed,
blood came back up. Yeah,
I ain't sleeping in that shit.
Yeah,
I will say this: Johnny Depp is probably one of the most humble actors out there.
Well, he came from dirt poor,
it's not only that, any actor who was at the peak of his career during Pirates of the Caribbean would actually listen to a guy like Kevin Smith and do a bit role in one of his films. That's just a guy that loves his career in acting.
Right. Dig it.
You know what, TT, we do not know. We've heard rumors that she got fired from Aquaman 2, and they're thinking about replacing her with Emily Clark. But that's just, I think, a fan
that's a fan thing. Technically, Amber Heard hasn't even been hired for an Aquaman 2 because an Aquaman 2 hasn't been officially greenlit.
Exactly, that's true.
She may be signed as on contract to appear, but you're not hired until you're hired. So far, there's nothing going on. As for Emilia Clarke, I absolutely adore her. She's a very charming woman. I've met her twice. Both times her publicist has separated us. Her mother's also a sweet woman. I love her. I think she's an okay actor. She could be better. She just needs some better coaches because she has the potential to be a fantastic actor, but she's not getting the guidance she needs.
Final, it's in the Creator Hub.
Maybe he's having the same problem I had.
No, he's send me the link, man.
I couldn't get the link earlier. I don't know what it was. I had to copy and paste it on my browser.
I'll resend it to you. Or can you just forward it to him through a text?
I can forward it to him. Matter of fact, that's exactly how I got the link.
So, yeah, let's talk about RiRi though again, because this aggravates me. So RiRi Williams in the comic book stole Tony Stark's Iron Man suit and was able to fiddle with it to become Ironheart. You know what? Whatever. Some people do love that character, but
it's a little Batman Beyondish, but not fun.
Very right, exactly. But what I do not like is that now, because of they don't want to probably give her the role for Tony Stark because they're scared that they might not bring. I don't know, but they want to have a War Machine with her as a Disney Plus show. That makes
I wouldn't mind seeing
Rhodey has been really underserved in the MCU.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I like War Machine.
Yeah, me too.
Don Cheadle's bad shit, but I like War Machine. But he's good. Yeah, he's good at. I like him as
the
an
other
actor,
part too. Is I don't like the cliche nature of having the black guy tutor the black girl.
Right. That's another.
Is that a cliche?
But is it because of that they don't want the white guy tutoring the black girl?
There's definitely something eyebrow raising about it. that you have Don Cheadle, he's a military guy. He's not a scientist. He doesn't know the Iron Man technology, like how to build more stuff out of it. So
would he not?
He'd be kind of impotent as a mentor in that area. So if anything, what you all end up having is RiRi would be teaching him about the armor, and he would be teaching her about,
combat
what it is
tactics,
to be an adult and a combat and
situation.
strategy. But I doubt that would be something that's carried throughout the show, because the way that at least some of the comic book writers are writing is that, these new characters don't need any mentor or guidance.
Right.
And they're trying to do the Spider-Man thing, but instead of keeping the one aspect of Spider-Man, which is how often he fails because he doesn't have that guidance, they're always going to succeed. And therefore we just don't latch on to them because we don't see a challenge for them. They're not overcoming anything. To go back to Star Wars, the one thing that makes almost everybody love Luke as a character is the first scene we see him in. He doesn't want to do chores. Like, he wants to go hang out with his friends, but his uncle tells them to, go do chores. And we've all been in situations where our parents have told us that we can't do what we actually want to do. And boom, right off the bat, we instantly relate to the character. With RiRi, we get nothing like that. Like, I think she's introduced as a kid who's too smart for school, and her parents are trying to deal with that, but she spends all her time in the garage.
And TT, yes, she does.
No kid can relate to that. Like, how do you relate to that? How does a kid relate to that context where you're too smart for school? Like,
right, she's like a crappy Peter Parker, like a
very
wise
much so.
Peter Parker. Yeah,
and she doesn't do anything for her parents. She's very selfish and self-serving.
She steals Iron Man's suit. Like, she can't even create her own. Like,
and the thing is, how does she steal it? Like, how could she steal it? It doesn't. Is there not security? And like, what does she just do? Like, hack it through her phone because writers can't think of any cool ways to do a heist because they've never actually gotten in trouble in their life before. They've been so sheltered. They've never tried to escape their bedrooms or break into a house or a school or something after hours just to, like, mess around and prank something.
Right. It's aggravating, man. Like, but now I really want to ask this question, and let me ask you, Final. Do you believe that? So RiRi in the comic books steals Tony Stark's Iron Man suit, becomes Ironheart. She is then Tony Stark, I think at the time, is actually paraplegic, or he's paralyzed from the waist down, or something weird is going on in that one. But he mentors her. Do you think they're making War Machine with RiRi Williams because they don't want the white guy mentoring the black young girl?
Yeah, I think that's probably possible. It seems to be a trend with them, though, because if you look at even in the movies, you have Peter Parker getting all of his gear. I think there's probably some of it that is sort of the gender race swapping thing, and some of it's just the fact that they're trying to tear down all of the classic characters that we all love and are so used to and admire so much. I mean, the same thing with like Luke Skywalker. Yeah, Peter Parker gets all of his gear. He leaves him his glasses. Like, he didn't have to really earn it. And Peter Parker's someone who should be able to come up with that stuff, and he should be able to develop that himself. He's a genius.
I'm glad you said that. I hate in the MCU that Peter Parker doesn't create his own Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, or his web sling or anything. I mean, he gets everything from Tony.
I guess he did. He has a couple of hoodies and sweatpants, but the web shooters are big and bulky, and he wears those giant goggles. But like
and I
the
web,
understand
how he's able to do like the web snowball things. That was Tony Stark that gave him that ability.
Yeah, that's Tony Stark, like, giving him all the extra stuff. But Peter should be doing that, in my opinion, too. Yeah,
absolutely. And he doesn't need his spider sense because he's got the what's it called? I don't know what they call it.
He's got the AI. Jennifer Connelly in his head telling him what to do.
I wish I had Jennifer Connelly in my head.
What would she be telling you to do, Scott?
Just bad things.
But I will say, I do think that the look of the Spider-Man costume in the MCU is the most closely comic book like. I just don't like all the extra gadgets and stuff on it.
Yeah, I like the look of it. I agree. It looks really cool.
It looks, I mean, it's a proper spandex suit. It doesn't look over. I mean, it's got some of the black bars on and stuff, but I mean, it doesn't look overly complicated like the Tobey Maguire thing, which is like an entire one piece with these like protruded webs and solid state lenses, and
yeah, the
I
lenses.
love the manipulated lenses on that.
I
thought that
really
was
really liked the Spider-Man suit in Civil War. I actually been rewatching all the MCU movies the last couple days. I rewatched like 7 or 8 of them already. And I just started Captain Marvel. Well, yeah, my wife hates me. I was rewatching Captain Marvel today. I made it through like 10 minutes of it. But you know, the one thing I got to say is that Civil War suit I can understand. Okay, Tony Stark helped you because you didn't have the money and you haven't gotten to that place yet. I'm upset that he hasn't moved past that, like, you know, wrestling suit he had in the comic books to create his own. But okay, at least that's something fundamentally that he could recreate on his own. When you get right then into the Iron Spider suit, that's just like, you know, and then they have to take it away from him because they gave it to him, you know, like that's a whole part of
he had to have left it at home while he goes on a European trip.
Right.
Yeah,
but
well, he got it too soon in the storyline too. You know, I mean, he hadn't been Spider-Man long enough yet, and all of a sudden he's got like this suit that's even better than the one he basically just got. You know,
I mean, Peter Parker's an adult when he gets that.
Right. Yep. Yeah, he's much older, so they gave it to him way too quick. So that was a problem because then you take it away. It's like, well, gosh, I mean, he's already had it. That really sucks, you know.
And why in the MCU? Another thing, dude, I'm sorry, but why in the MCU? I can understand, okay, Tony Stark. I can understand Thor, even Hawkeye and, you know, Black Widow. But like, you're already giving away Spider-Man's identity. Like, that's one of the biggest parts of his Superman, you know, I'm sorry, his Spider-Man journey is the protection of people he loves by not letting people know who he is. You know, like that's one thing the MCU said right off the rip with Tony Stark saying, I am Iron Man. We're not going to worry about secret identities. And I can't stand that.
Yeah, they did maintain it for Homecoming and to a degree Far From Home until the end credit scene. But that's the one thing that I think, in my opinion, hurt a little bit with regards to the MCU is the fact that they didn't even bother with the secret identities and they didn't even have any consequences for it, really. Iron Man 3 tried to explore that with Tony Stark and the Mandarin.
Right.
But it just didn't feel like it went anywhere, really.
And that was an ad-libbed line, you know that? I am Iron Man. Yeah. That was ad-libbed.
Yeah, they had 2 camera setups. They had one on the audience or like the reporters and one on him. And during one of the takes, Robert Downey Jr. just said, "I am Iron Man," and then as if the entire crowd, all the extras in that scene knew what was going on, they all rose up and decided to run with the improv because they saw an opportunity there. But Leslie Bibb didn't. She just sat there and did smirking thing because she thought it was a lark. And then by the end, by the editing time, they came to the decision, like, you know what, let's just run with this idea and do it this way. It's good. What an ending.
And then, and then what I love is they close it with, you know, Endgame wasn't one of my favorite MCU movies. I rewatched it recently. It wasn't bad except for that last battle, which was a little ridiculous at points, like the whole, we got it back. You know, all the females all of a sudden in a massive battle were able to come and help each other.
None of those characters ever met each other before, but they decided to group up.
Right. And the Wasp walking with attitude. I loved it.
I know. Yeah.
Real quick. CGH sent me some. Can you screen share that for me, Scotty?
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
I don't know how to zoom in on that,
buddy. I've been waiting for this to drop. Like I haven't mentioned it. This one. I would have. I retweeted it. I put it out on Twitter, but I didn't retweet it because he didn't send me the link. He just sent me a screenshot. They said the author's initials are SJW. I kid you not. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And somebody replied, "That is either beautifully ironic." Or this book is playing a mad game of 4D chess. Hail, brother.
A mad game, yeah.
Hail, brother. Hail, brother.
What is the book?
Good.
My book, The Fandom Menace Volume 1.
Stephen J. Walton. Oh, Madon. That was meant to be.
I haven't said shit because I've been waiting for somebody. And then CJ saw me that. I was like, yes, finally, somebody realized.
Finally,
Oh
wow,
God,
that's
I
crazy.
realized
That is ironic.
I thought mine were good. Mine are SMP. I'm PMS backwards.
Or you're missing an eye to be a simp, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or a pimp.
Or a pimp, yeah.
Or Pims particles.
Pims
What?
particle?
Oh, full circle.
So, speaking of simps, did you guys hear that Nathan Grayson wrote a 3.2 thousand word article about that simp girl, the boomer chick? I can't think of her name.
Oh, right, yeah.
I
I saw a couple of stuff on Twitter of her. She really knows how to animate her face well.
Yeah, she's beautiful. I'm not hating the player.
I mean, like she knows how to get every
about.
expression out there like a really good actor would know how to do. But I don't know if she can act or not. Probably.
No. Well, look, I'm not hating on her. Okay, you know what I mean. If you can sell money, if you can make money selling bathwater, more power to you, I guess. But this chick, it was a cute video, but it was something that was done with other people. It just caught fire, and she's making money off of it, and God bless her. But Nathan Grayson wrote this 3,000 word article about her, and the funny thing about that is that he was one of the people that was a part of the conspiracy. That he was banging, or Zoe Quinn was banging him for positive game reviews and things like that.
Oh,
and
he did
right, yeah, well, he's Gamergate. This dude is way back, but 2014 Gamergate,
right.
And he's one of the people that, he's one of the people that was all involved in that. Like, the whole start of this SJW culture in the mainstream and everything. And now here he is years later, and he's praising a woman by saying, "No, simping isn't bad. Being a bitch ass man is not a bad thing." He's made a career off of it.
Well, I just saw Tim Pool. I just saw Tim Pool, one of his like podcast clips where it says scientists have figured out that being a bitch man, it's actually they do have less testosterone.
A bitch man?
Yeah, a bitch man.
Is that a term now? Like
that definition for that is the definition for that is the exact opposite of script doctor.
Oh,
the
yeah.
wingman of the Fandom Menace. He will let you know if it's kosher or not. Any girl, any situation, he will let you know. No, don't mess with her. Don't mess with him.
What I love about Script Doctor is anytime I do a video and I hit like publish, I'm like, God, that sucked. And he'll be like, I like how you brought down the dichotomy of it. And I'm like, he makes me sound smart. I like it.
I'm retarded, Script. Bring the vocabulary down.
Make the words make you sound pretty, please.
Oh no, your Onward review is actually pretty good. You got to the core of the film.
I'll take pretty good. Thank you, my friend, because I winged that to try to make it 3 minutes long. Yeah, I was just like, I have to put out a video, and my daughter is watching a quick, read along book. I'm going to throw this out as fast as possible.
Guys, apparently everybody wants to hear about Ezra Miller choking people and Amber Turd. So make those videos, because I finally had a good video after like 3 weeks of duds.
Dude, I just saw one of your videos had like 200 freaking views.
Yeah. Look at what happened. It's been like 20, 30. It's been terrible ever since the coronavirus.
Wow.
The
Ezra Miller thing?
Yeah. I made a video about everybody was, informing the public on the same things. So I just wanted to give my perspective on it, and I just look at people like that as disingenuous, and that disingenuous people eventually get exposed because they leave a trail of destruction behind them. They're always hurting someone, stepping over someone in order to elevate themselves, and at the same time covering up their true nature. So that's how I look at people like Amber, especially Amber.
I was going to say that, man, real quick. Yeah. Amber is that. I think Ezra Miller, being a weirdo, wearing a bunny suit, I think he's just really, really high.
Wears dresses and all.
He needs help.
Weird.
There's something trouble about
him. He's out there.
All I know is he needs to go to a meeting and say, "Hi, my name is Ezra M." And everyone says, "Hi, Ezra," and he sits down and shuts the hell up. Yeah, he is. That kid's gonna look back and be like, "What the fuck was I doing?"
He might step out of it and be normal one day. Who knows?
Hey, man, not hating. I've been there.
And I don't mean normal by being straight. Like I don't care what his sexuality is. It's just there's something, the way that he presents himself and the things that he does and the things that he says. The guy needs help.
If you look at him in the eyes and just see weirdness, like he's got crazy dead eyes, and also the weird jawline and cheek thing going on, like he's had liposuction like 4 hours ago all the time.
He sucks in. No, he sucks in. He's always like ready. He's always like this.
Is he one of those like mewers, the guys that throw their tongue into the back of their throat to try and keep everything all even on their like that.
One other thing I was thinking about is you might remember the movie, something about a wallflower. It's him. It's Hermione Granger.
Wallflowers?
No, it's a movie. It was him, Hermione Granger, and the kid that was from the movie Percy Jackson. And it's about like
being a wallflower, I think it was called.
Thank you, man. I couldn't think of it.
It was like one of his early movies, right?
Yeah.
It was early on.
I was watching an interview with him in that. He is high. He is
in the interview.
That sounds kind of gay. Like the married guys understood, but straight guys.
Oh, it was a good movie. I mean, it sucked. There was no booby.
Yeah, Emma Watson's in it.
I mean, she's hit or miss. I like Emma Watson as an actress, but I've lost interest because she hasn't given me boobs yet, and I think that is something that a hot actress should give us at least once.
Well, I mean, if they want to go back to the footage and remember what their bodies were in their prime, I mean, you can do that. I know.
It sounds like torturous as you get older, though.
Well, I know Jessica Alba regrets it. I know Jessica Alba regrets not doing any topless or nude scenes.
The closest we got with her was,
I regret that too.
Yeah, me too. The closest we got with her was bras and panties in Fantastic Four, and then her in Sin City doing the cowgirl thing. Oh my god.
Yeah. Also, Andy McDowell also regretted not doing it when she could.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Really? Yeah. She actually told her daughter, who's an actress now, to like do it whenever they offer her like the right dollar amount. But,
right. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, get your money for it. Absolutely. This is part of the business.
You got it. Flaunt it. Look,
Nev Campbell waited too late. Those things were very, very disappointing. Yeah, we finally got the Nevs. I was disappointed by those.
For who?
Nev Campbell.
Oh, right, yeah.
Backing out now.
Yeah. When Will I Be Loved? Right?
Wild Things. It should have been it. That should have been the boobs, but didn't get that. You know what? Speaking of boobs, I've been watching a lot of different shows on Netflix lately because I'm living a quarantine life and I'm bored as shit. I check out this Chuck. Oh my God. I watched this international series, Freud. I like period pieces. I like Victorian era style of clothes. I love, I love if you can bring me in to a film by giving me something from like the 17th, 16th century, 15th, around there. But beside the point. So I figured, all right, Freud, I'm going to check this out. And I thought it was going to be kind of boring, like about sociology and so forth. But no, or psychiatry. But no, this thing ended up being like that for like 2 episodes and then turned into the satanic orgy bloodbath thing. It was really freaking awesome. There were a lot of boobs and including my favorite set of boobs, blood-soaked boobs. Don't judge me. I'm a 70s and 80s horror kid. And it was really good. The last episode threw me off a little bit. It was okay. It was basically like
was this like
if it's historically accurate, I have no fucking I don't think so. I think they took the hysterical character Sigmund Freud, and they put him as a young Sigmund Freud and put him into a story. They built a story around him because if Freud was into this stuff, it's
like the messed up version of that comedy Young Einstein.
I remember that.
From the 90s,
he like makes a nuclear bomb in the outhouse.
yeah.
Young Einstein. Oh my God. But that was a thing. God, that was a thing for like what, 2 years? Wow. Anyway, yes. So also, What Happened to Monday is this movie I saw. It was pretty damn good.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, that's a pretty damn. It was pretty good. You know what? I'm willing to try anything after the Tiger King. The Tiger King really opened my eyes to. Wow. If I can get enjoyment out of this trash, then anything must be good. Anything can be good. It has the possibility.
Have you watched season 1, Altered Carbon?
I need to watch Altered Carbon. I'm very hesitant. Listen, I'm very hesitant to get into sci-fi franchises right now because I've had a lot of them burn me over the last few years. Which is a shame.
Season 2 will burn you.
Season 2
I did not watch because I've heard it's so bad. Because I really liked season 1.
I watched season 2 and okay. What really upset me was Anthony Mackie is not the most dramatic of actors. Like season 1, what's his name? Oh God, I'm blanking.
I can't think of the guy's name either now.
The guy from The Killing.
The kind of red
RoboCop.
The 2014 RoboCop?
Yeah, the new one.
Okay. Oh, I can't
I like that Robo. I actually like that RoboCop.
He is an awesome actor, dude. He's a very good actor, and he plays that part awesome.
You talking about? He was Colonel Flag.
Yes,
That guy. Yeah.
Here, look, I looked up Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah,
Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah, I like him.
Joel Kinnaman. Yeah, he was
Dude,
really good. He was perfect in that role.
That first season by itself is fantastic. The bad guy in that is one of my favorite actors. He was in The Killing also. If you've never seen The Killing, that is a great series. The Killing is a series about a cult leader, serial killer that these two cops in Seattle are after. It is a really good show, and it's probably on Netflix because that's where I watched it the first time. That is a really good show that never got what it needed to keep it going. So like it got canceled off of AMC, and then Netflix picked it up for a season. But the first season of that is freaking awesome. And then the last few are good too, but you want to, and he's in that. The wife from World War Z is in it, and these two actors are in it. It's really good. I'm really good at
Scotty. Real quick, could you pay attention to the chat? Let them know that why we can't bring up chats.
I am sorry I can't bring up chats. I'll say this one more time. When I published this on StreamYards, I published it as private. So YouTube allowed me to change it to public, but StreamYards would not. So because it's considered private, I can't see any of your comments, and I'm not able to actually bring them up, because that's one of my favorite things to do, is actually bring up people's comments. So I'm sorry about that, everybody.
Yep. Ro, I just wanted to say hail to everybody in the chat for hanging out. Sorry we haven't been able to pay attention to you due to Scott being a fuck up. But I wanted to say hail to Fatal J, stop through, Shellback, TJC, hail brother. Calamity still hanging. Tommy, of course, is just in there killing it for us. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to show appreciation, because Drunk yells at me for that, and Scott actually does take care of that. But since he screwed up tonight, he can't.
Yeah,
so
I can't.
Try
I love doing that, and I can't. I can't do that.
You can't even see the live comments in the StreamYards chat for us either.
No, it's because I set it as private.
Yeah,
so
private.
It did not connect that way. Go fuck yourself, Final.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, Orville Nation, you can make fun of me as much as you want, and I can't show it though. So does it really help? Snowfall, is that one of the? Is that the Templar one? Or no, that's Night. No, that's a different one. What's Snowfall?
Can we go back to talking about boobs?
Yeah, go back. Go ahead.
Can we talk about Scarlett Johansson in that Under the Skin movie, y'all? I just finally watched it. She is fully nude. I mean, head to toe, and the story's pretty cool too. But it was like gazing at heaven, y'all. ScarJo, man.
ScarJo is the top of my list. I'm sorry.
And it was multiple times. Look, and I'm telling y'all this. I'm preaching right now for these people that made this film. And Scarlett Johansson herself, that beautiful actress. I'm preaching for it right now. It wasn't just once. You didn't just get a side boob. You didn't just get a nipple glance. You didn't just get an ass cheek. She was naked several times in this film for like a minute or two, doing weird shit, but it was there. And it wasn't fake. They didn't skimp you on it. And it was a cool story too, so it's worth checking out. In my opinion, I thought it was pretty creepy and cool. But it wasn't like the normal titty that they give us. It was full tit. It was full ass. Hail Scarlett Johansson. And hail all the people that made that movie. You're the reason why I enjoy cinema.
Do you even remember what it's about?
It's aliens and shit and naked ScarJo.
And it's called Under.
No, it's a really good movie. It really starts out. The pacing is different. It's very artsy in the way that it's presented. They don't really even explain anything that happens. You kind of just get taken along for a day with this alien who has assumed the visage of Scarlett Johansson. And she basically brings people in. I'm not going to say what exactly happens, but she's consuming these people, or something is consuming these people. But the way that she lures them in is with sexual charisma, and so she'll flirt. You see her flirting with an English accent, talking to these different people around the aisles, and then
it's a horror movie.
It's a horror movie, and then the next scene, you'll see her naked, and it's progressive. And when it hits full nudity, bro, you're seeing merkin. I don't know if that was real bush or that was merkin, but I mean everything full frontal. So when you see her, so the story progresses that way, and then it kind of takes a different turn. It's like you're getting only half of the story, not all of the information. So you have to infer a lot of different things. But as a story itself, I would say check it out. But with the added addition of full on ScarJo, you gotta see this movie.
I mean, I was excited about Ghost in a Shell, and it's just her like a Barbie doll, and I was excited.
Were there boobs in it?
Not really.
That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah. I love ScarJo. God, I love her. Did you see her in Lucy? I don't know if there's.
Yeah, Lucy was good, man.
Lucy was an interesting.
It was
movie.
far-fetched, but it was.
I
okay.
like.
Yeah, that's good. That was entertaining.
It was interesting how they kept saying, "Okay, if she uses 50% of her mind, she's here," and it goes up from there. That was interesting. The very end was out of
Kind of had that
left field.
It's kind of had that transhumanism sort of vibe.
Once you get past the realm of 10, once you get past the realm of 10% brain power, you're guessing. You are just guessing at what the possibilities are. So it was hypothetical. I mean, even the premise of the entire.
Right.
But her acting in that is great. I mean, and really props to Scarlett Johansson. She is a great actress. You never see her getting reckless at the mouth with fans. You never, she never disrespects fandom. She always, she's a good actress and apparently a good person who appreciates her position and privilege and what she's doing for a living. And she does it well, no matter what you see her in. And you can go back 10 years and watch her. She has always had a very good ability when it came to playing a part or being an actress. I couldn't think of the right words, so I had to say like 10 other fucking words to cover up for it. But she anything you see her in, she's good. So like, I mean, I appreciate her on that level. She would be one of those people, in my opinion, an actress that would get a pass from my need to see tits. Basically, she would get a pass on that, like some other actresses have, because of her ability and what she's given to us, and how well she is, and how she's treated, her fandom, and especially in today, and the way things are today. But she did give us full frontal, and thank you, Scarlett. I can't tell you.
Yeah,
how much.
she might go a little crazy if she follows through with that wedding to Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live.
Who? Huh?
Blow my mind out.
Oh wait, who?
She's engaged to Colin Jost.
I don't even know who that
Saturday
is.
Night Live. Yeah, he's the Weekend Update, one of the Weekend Update guys on Saturday.
Yeah. I don't watch SNL. Is he good?
She's engaged.
No, he is
him,
not.
Really?
He's the coasted through Harvard English major that thinks he's funny and isn't really. Like Saturday Night Live has been funny for years. He's been the head writer for 3.5-4 years now.
Yeah,
I think. And
okay.
Yeah, he's not that funny. Even Michael Che, who's next to him, doesn't even have any jokes to add onto their stuff. But so she's engaged to him, and that's going to be a very short-lived marriage. But he's also like he's a very far left guy. And Scarlett Johansson is not a far left person.
Don't forget, she came out against it, had to back it up a little bit, but still, I respected her for at least coming out. She just had to worry about her career, so you got to give her that. But
listen, I think ScarJo's just a regular lefty, all right? Like, she was going to do that movie about...
she's old school. She's like what the left was in the early 90s.
Right,
yeah,
and that's what I am, so I'm fine with that.
More of a classic liberal.
Conservative now.
But Colin Jost is today's lefty. That's the thing, and so I'm hoping that she sort of gets a swift knock in her head of, not literally, but just a realization of like, hey, yeah, maybe this is not the guy third marriage.
I'm the guy. I'm the guy, Mr. Johansson. I'm the guy.
Can I say I have not watched this movie yet, or this show Lock and Key, but I really like Joe Hill, who is what's his name's son?
Stephen King.
Yeah, Stephen King's son. Oh, wrong one. My bad. Let us stop that recording. Let me try sharing that again. I really am enjoying his tweet right here because he's saying what a lot of us are thinking. And his tweet says, and it's talking about the live action remake of Robin Hood from Disney. He says, I kind of think the cartoon is impossible to improve on, but what do I know?
They're going to do a live action remake of so it's going to be like the Lion King version where it's CGI'd animals.
Photorealistic CGI. But they call it live action because, well, Disney thinks people are stupid.
Now, do you think the story's old enough that it can be redone?
Well, no, but they're not going to they're going to do it scene for scene like the Lion King. Like, there was no reason to remake the Lion King.
No,
Yeah.
there was not. Also, this would probably be the first successful Robin Hood movie in 25 years.
Since Prince of Thieves,
Yeah.
Was there boobs?
I would say.
Or Men in Tights, if you want to go.
Or Men in Tights, yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Now-
would this be on Disney Plus, or is this going to be a theatrical
most likely
release?
direct to Disney Plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just think if
Oh,
you were
yeah.
going to do another Robin Hood, you could do a live action one. Just do it CGI live action. Just do your own version. Don't keep ripping off these great. Like if they do Aladdin, I'll lose my. They did
Well,
Aladdin.
they did
I
Aladdin.
mean, you're talking about
Yeah.
Robin Hood, though.
Yeah,
Robin
they
Hood's
did
been redone.
Aladdin. They're doing
I'm
Little
sorry.
Mermaid. I mean, they did Beauty and the Beast already. They're ripping off themselves though, which is like
Well,
even.
Disney's not taking any new ideas this year.
No, yeah. Well, I don't think they have been for the last couple of years.
Well, they'd have always at least like listened to a pitch, but now this year they're officially not. They're
Well, if they're
and I
not. They
quote,
haven't been
trying
listening to good
salvage
ideas for a while.
their properties that right now during this difficult time.
Well, that's the thing. I was talking about this with one of my friends who's in the industry, and he was worried. He's like, I don't know when this is going to turn around, even if it ends, in the summer, say things start to happen. I said, yeah, but for someone who's new, like whether in acting or writing, the time that's going to take them to try to get their ideas out, because Hollywood's going to be so filled with the backlog of all the stuff that's been pushed off. So even when things start turning around, they can start producing things or getting back to filming things on location. They're going to have so much stuff that's been pushed back that any new projects are now going to be, at least a year out beyond that.
Most likely. I mean, the people that I've been talking to, they're all just trying to build up a slate for 2021.
That's what
they're pretty
much.
They're basically what the advantage that a lot of production companies have is they can get rid of all of the bureaucratic aspects of things now, so that as soon as the thing's lifted, all they have to do is a week of casting, and then they jump right into production, and they can do a turnaround really fast once that happens. And the whole idea is that once the director and the crew finish the principal photography and then the necessary reshoots, they don't have to wait for the next project to come by that's already there waiting for them, so they can just move right onto it right away. So there's not going to be any gap in between. However, I think there's going to be a little bit of an issue with that, because some creatives, especially on the production side of things, need a respite between projects, and they're not going to be afforded that. So some projects after the first one that they come back to might suffer as a result.
So, Script Doctor, do you believe in this rumor? The Eternals pre-production was in disarray. Kit Harington's Black Knight costume will be CGI, like, I don't know, Green Lantern?
They can do whatever they want. I mean, I would not be like the Eternals. Who asked for that movie? Like, really?
The who?
Well, let me remind
they
you who asked.
The Guardians of the Galaxy thing, but I don't know any names. I
didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy was, and I like that movie and the way they did it. And but I never read.
Yeah, but the thing is, it had James Gunn
are.
behind it, and for a lot of like cinephiles, James Gunn was a really interesting take, because he did the movie Super. Before that, he did Slither. Like he has like weird perspectives on things, so we knew that there was going to be something interesting going on about it. The other part too is that there was also leaks of certain production skills, and the fact that they were going to be using music from the 80s and older in the film, which was going to hook a lot of people. I mean, for crying out loud, he got James Gunn with Guardians of the Galaxy, his entire input to him, got people interested in the Spinners again, which is amazing, because they were a fantastic group in the 70s. And you know, basically there's a whole generation of people that never knew about them. I did, just because I used to listen to the oldies radio station growing up. But yeah, like he brought a flair to it. But who's the creative team behind the Eternals? I don't recognize the director. I can't remember their name. I know Angelina Jolie's in it, and they got the unfunny Indian guy from Sicko.
I think
or the Big Stick. Sorry,
Salma Hayek's in it too. I mean, there's a couple names. But I think they had to get those big name actors and actors, a couple of them, because no one knows who they are and no one really cares.
Well, I know, the only thing I know about the Eternals is that it was a comic book thing, because people have made videos and informed me from their perspectives who know about this shit. And the only thing I have heard is gender swaps, race swaps, SJW shit. That's all I know. Now, if that's not the final product, I'll be happy. But I mean, I don't know who the Eternals are. I don't really care about I don't really care about what's going on. And really, the whole reason I wanted to talk about this was Kit Harington. I loved Kit Harington in Game of Thrones up until when that show went haywire in the last 2 seasons. I loved his portrayal. There was a movie that he did. God, I can't think of the name of it. That I really liked. I watched because it was Kit Harington.
Oh, he was like a MI6.
Right.
Oh, I
right.
watched that. Yeah, I watched that too.
It was a decent movie.
Yeah, it was not bad.
Yeah, and so, but now I look at Kit, and it's the same kind of damage that's already been done to me. Like, I don't want to try new sci-fi. I look at Kit, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be interested in this, because is it going to be bad? Yeah, I don't trust it just from the jump, and that's where I've gotten personally. And that's why I've expanded out. I've been watching different things that I normally wouldn't watch and shit. Well, that I'm in isolation. And Tiger King, for God's sakes, the Tiger King.
My wife and I watched
King
it.
is like nothing compared to what I've dealt with in the film industry.
Script, I'm not comparing lives, but me, all right, I'm a pleb when it comes to that industry.
We need to have a justice stream about those things. You can leave names out.
Yeah,
bro.
I know producers that have gone to jail for criminal activity trying to get a movie made.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So like Bowfinger's a thing.
Actually, Bowfinger is a very light version of what usually goes on, especially in the independent film areas. Like when you're going into
porn.
No, not porn, but like when you're going into like bigger cities like New York or like a Vancouver or Toronto or LA or Century City or stuff. That you have those independent film markets where they none of them are like part of the union or anything, but they're just trying to get self-financed films and then put them into festivals or self-distribute them on what have you. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy crap going on there. Most of the casting couches happen in the independent stuff, not as much in the professional thing.
Where you got to work your way up, right?
Well, that's the one thing that, I mean, when I first was starting to intern at Paramount for that very short time before they split, yeah, like the casting couch is almost like a myth. Like it existed, but it was like so rare at that level because nobody cared. Nobody cared at that point. It was like you didn't need to find a hot new actress and coerce them to sleep with you for a role. You just hire them, and then eventually it would happen naturally, anyways, just because that's how desperate some of these actors and actresses were. You didn't have to go that route, but on the independent side, the people that are financing it they're so preoccupied with getting money and then trying to make the movie that they're not having relationships. So yeah, that's the only time where they could get any action would be at a casting couch. So like that's where it was most of the time, and that's where you'd hear it, and it was just sad and pathetic. and sadly, that's 99% of the independent film world. And if you don't recognize that, then you're the 1% that's actually doing stuff that's right, and good for you, because you don't want to be part of that 99%.
So what you're telling me, Script, is that you don't need a couch to get laid. I
don't.
Okay.
But you know, if you know I'm too far away from the bedroom and my girlfriend's nearby, the couch will do.
Oh, boom.
Hello.
There it is. Do you guys know who the Heather Graham character was based off of?
Graham, let me give props to Heather Graham, another woman who has been decent enough to give us nudity in plenty of films. Thank you, brother. Continue.
Oh, I love Heather Graham.
Do you guys know who she was based off of?
Cobra Kai.
No.
She's going to be in Cobra Kai?
Heather Graham's in Cobra Kai?
From what I understand, she's supposed to be coming in Cobra Kai. It's why she took the boys to do something in between before production.
No. You're thinking of Elizabeth Shue, who played Allie.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I am. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, she's going to be in.
Great bodies. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'd love to see Elizabeth Shue again. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll be in. Yeah, I've heard that too.
But what is her character based on?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Heather Graham. So her character was based on Anne Hesh, because Steve Martin had a relationship with her, and she had been known to sleep her way into, the position she got into.
Oh, snap.
Right. And she became, after she left Steve Martin, they broke up, and she became the part-time, for that limited time, a lesbian as well. But, she hadn't really, I guess the rumor is that she wasn't really gay. She just kept trying to sleep her way up to the top. So Steve Martin, when he came up with Bowfinger, he was basing a lot of characters off of people that he knew in the industry, and Heather Graham was based off of Anne Hesh. I
Anne
love
Hesh.
that.
Oh,
movie.
Anne Hesh is
Eddie
great.
Murphy is so freaking good. In
Yes,
that, too.
he is. Oh my God.
Playing the two roles, man, he's so good. Hey,
No,
look at
Goldfinger
girls.
is a brilliant film. The other part too about Anne
Robert
Heche
Tracy.
is that every opportunity she has, she makes fun of how she has to pay alimony to her ex-husband. Like she's on the reverse end of that because she's like, how the hell did this happen to her? Like never does the woman in LA have to pay alimony.
God bless
Yeah.
America. God bless America. So, fellas, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to wrap it up. We're getting to the 2-hour mark. So let me ask you, let each one of you go around and tell us what you think people should be watching during this quarantine time. Start with take a second. If anybody wants to pop in first.
I just started watching The Borgias. It's 3 seasons.
I love The Borgias.
Oh God, Jeremy Irons. I mean, can't give it. And tits. It is a great. The first season, I've only got through the first season. I only got through this beginning of the second episode of the second season, and the first season is great, encapsulated, really well done. And boobs and pretty chicks and lots and wonderful designs, set designs, and I thought it was really good. And then you get to the second season, and I just started the second season, and it's like the psycho meter got ratcheted up on every character. It's like somebody the boys were a lot more crazy than you portrayed them in that first season. Well, let's crank them up to 10. And so all of a sudden you go from the first season, which is a really good season, and then from what I've noticed in the first couple episodes, everybody's fucking crazy except for the innocent. Except for the youngest.
Stargirl.
Yeah. So
wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're talking just Borgias, or did you say The Boys season 2 is out?
Borgias.
Okay, I got confused there for a second. Borgias is good. There's actually 2 shows that are you have The Borgias, and then you have they're about the same families too. Who's in that? Is that Jeremy Irons?
The one I'm watching, yeah.
Okay, there's a better one. I will get it for you. It's there's
boobs?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
You also have Medellin or Mezzanine. It's another family from that time period that was a banking family that wanted to get one of their people into the Pope role. Dude, I love those types of movies. So I will. I'm going to shoot a couple to you, but there's another Borgias. It just has different actors. I think it's like the European version of it.
I'll watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it after I'm done this.
It's better than the Irons one. I'll tell you that.
I like Jeremy Irons.
Right now, I don't know if anybody knows this. I have a subscription to HBO Now, but they have a whole thing where you could stream with no subscription required all their shows. So like, Succession, True Blood, Sopranos. Like if you download HBO Now, you should be able to stream all their shows for free right now.
And if you have not seen The Sopranos, do yourself a favor and do it.
Well, I was going to say that too.
Yeah,
and boobs.
Oh, a lot of boobs. But there's a good. I really enjoyed season 1. It's named 2 different shows in the 2 different seasons, but The Young Pope with Jude Law.
I've wanted to watch that. You watched that, Scott? How is that?
I've watched a few of those episodes.
It took me a little to get into it. I still haven't seen the last episode yet. So I'll let you know that. I was in Virginia, so I didn't have a lot to do. So I watched it. I enjoyed it. A lot of boobs, or a little. Well, there's some sickening things that happen into it too. But I'm a freak, so whatever.
Sickening, like what? Somebody shit on his bed?
Like one of the guys trying to rape a drunk priest that's passed out.
Well, I mean, I'm not looking forward to that scene.
No, it's a disturbing scene. It's very disturbing. But there's one full frontal that's hilarious and female, very a cougar, and the guy laughs. It's great. So check it out.
Content warning. Borgias. There's dongs in there too. I'm sorry, I didn't want it to sneak up on you, but it's going to happen. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, no. Dongs are great.
No, not.
No, well, I mean. All I know is this.
Enough said. Enough said.
I'm sorry. Did my mic go out there? My mic must have went out. My bad.
No, it was very fitting. It was very fitting.
Thank you. So download, for once I kept my mouth shut. So download HBO Now. You can watch almost every single show they ever had on. So enjoy that while you're quarantining people. What are you watching, Final?
So I'm still going through the Star Trek, the first original series. I watch a couple of those a day, and I'm loving it. I'm so amazed by how. See, like this is the thing I'm learning with this show. They had representation before anyone else. We're talking 1966, and it was all true and honest. Nothing felt forced, and the way it worked was because that was not popular in the 60s, right? To do that, to have there's people of color and there's all ethnicities. There's besides just the aliens themselves, they dealt with topics of equality, and this was at a time where that was it was emerging. There was the movement obviously going around in America, but that wasn't something you would see, right? You wouldn't see these high level government positions and people of power typically of these colors and ethnicities. And they were looking into the future, which was why it worked, because they were looking into a time that, this stuff wouldn't matter anymore. And I feel like now we've kind of regressed to the point where we're trying to make it happen. And then when we make movies today that are period pieces or looking back, we're almost like putting our issues of today back into a time that these issues didn't exist, or things weren't as realistic. Like, for instance, there was a show that my friend was just telling me about where it had like one of the lead FBI agents. It was in the mid 70s. And she was like this strong, powerful African-American woman, and said, that's probably not as realistic that would have happened then. And it was done in a way that felt like it was forced, like they were trying to make a point, but historically that wasn't the case, so it comes off that way today where it just comes off as fake. And with, I think Star Trek, you had it there in the 60s naturally, and it worked because they were looking into the future that, it took place hundreds of years in the future, and this was no longer an issue. So I'm just stunned by not only that, how you can do representation and make it like actual, like feel honest, but also the technology was they had such foresight into everything we use. Oh my God, there's so much. I'm like, oh my God, that's where we got that from. Oh my God, I'm holding this in my hand. I have that over there. There's so much. Replicators. We've got 3D printers. It's crazy. There's.
Have you watched that documentary that talks about the Star Trek, how Star Trek changed history?
No, I haven't.
I forget the name of the documentary. It's something like Star Trek Changed Tech or Star Trek Tech or something like that.
Tech, yeah,
okay. Star Trek Tech?
Star Trek Tech? Okay, I'll try to find that. I'd love to watch that.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were so far. So anyway, so I'm watching that. And then I just watched a movie that was with my wife last night that we laughed our asses off. It was called Good Boys. It's on HBO.
That's the little
My
kid
goodness.
movie, right?
It's just, it's a little kid movie. It's the guys who did Superbad. And I was like, I don't know, okay, sure, whatever. We'll just put it on for the heck of it. I laughed so hard. I think just some of the jokes were just so, the kids are great in it. It's kind of silly. It's called Good Boys.
Okay.
And I think it's really fun to watch.
That
really made me laugh.
Room in it.
Yeah, the marketing was great. Like you had Seth Rogen take the kids into his office and be like, "Look, guys, did a great job, but you can't watch your own trailer." And they're like, "What the beep?" That was good.
That's great.
Great marketing.
Yeah, it's really funny. So those two, and then I'm watching a series called Little Fires Everywhere, which is pretty good too. I got wrapped up into it. It's with Reese Witherspoon, Kerry Washington.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Interesting story. It's on Hulu.
Yeah.
Interesting story. It's in the first season right now, so it's like every week a new one comes out. But my wife got into it, so I started watching it with her, and I got sucked in. I'm like, this is actually a pretty good story. It's well written. It deals with a lot of issues, but I feel like they're genuine issues with race. It doesn't feel like it's forcing anything, I guess. So, I don't know. I got into that. So those are just a few.
Well, thank you, sir. And script, what are you watching?
Well, I just finished binging the next generation of Star Trek.
I have been watching that myself. I love it.
That'll be next up.
Oddly enough, I was actually really disappointed with most of season 7.
Really?
Star Trek. Yeah, I mean, there are some okay episodes in there, but overall, it's not as good. I would say season 1 is more Star Trek like, and season 7 is really just crazy. Like they had one episode. They had an episode with like psychic echo material in a nacelle tube that caused people to commit suicide. It was like, it wasn't even really science fiction-y or anything like that. It was just a Troy-centric episode trying to insinuate Troy and Worf getting together. It was.
Well, I mean, a lot of the writers that were around during the meat of the seasons 3, 4, 5, or 4, 5, 6, they weren't around in that season.
No, it was basically Ronald D. Moore holding everything together, and everybody had moved on to DS9 by that point.
Yeah.
and it shows. All Good Things is still a great, great episode. And the one before that, which is escaping me at the moment, was pretty good. But I'm also watching classic Twilight Zone. I've got all 5 seasons of that.
Nice. I've watched a lot of that before too. That's great. I love the classic Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah, Preemptive Strike. That's the Maquis one where Ensign Rowe leaves the Enterprise and joins the Maquis. That was actually a pretty good episode. I'm also watching all the reruns of Parks and Recreation, Reno 911, Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. I love that show. Scott Bakula. Yeah.
And I've also got I found while I was cleaning out one of my, I have like 4 closets in my apartment because it's a 2-bedroom, so I've got lots of storage space. And I found old VHS copies of Three Stooges episodes. I got like a lot. Geez, like 40 or 50 tapes, like filled up. So I've been watching those old Three Stooges skits. Those are still hysterical. Their very first one is a rhyming couplet musical. Actually, I was kind of shocked. Yeah, it was the Woman Haters Club. It was hysterical. Larry gets married and he tries to hide his wife from Mo and Curly because they joined a club where they're like anti-women. And I'm like, that's just so stupid, but it's pretty funny. So yeah, if you can go onto YouTube, go online, check out Amazon or any of those or iTunes, see if you can buy and rent or download any of those old shows, because a lot of them hold up and they're pretty good.
Well, thank you, sir.
Can I ask you guys, has anyone, it's on Apple TV, so I don't have the paid subscription, but has anyone watched that new Amazing Stories that they just came out?
Thinking about that, man.
No,
I used to love
I've seen the original. One. Yeah, from like the 80s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's only been one episode. It just premiered, but I haven't watched it yet. It's got
What's
a 6 point. It's on Apple Plus's.
Yeah,
Apple TV Plus. I don't have that either, so we'd have to, go to a friend's.
Go to a friend's address.
Yeah. Go to a friend's address.
I'm going to tell people, if it's still on Netflix, it's a fun, corny New Zealand TV show. Shout out to my New Zealand people. It is The Almighty Johnsons. It's about a group of brothers. Yeah, great name. It's about a group of brothers on their like 18th birthday. Each one finds out, but it's about the youngest one now becoming 18, that they are a reincarnation, but not completely reincarnated version of a Norse god.
Oh, so, that's a good plot.
It's a great.
Now I'm thinking about Clone High, that cartoon show. Go watch Clone High.
Calamity Sci Shipyard, who is from down there, goes, yo. No, I love it. I've watched it a few times. The last season kind of started to suck. Then I guess they had some production issues and people were trying to bring it back, but one of the actors became got into some bigger roles. So I don't know if it'll ever come back, but it won't. But it was fun, dude. It was fun. I'm also watching TNG. I'm rewatching all the MCU movies, and I forgot how good some of them really were. Altered Carbon season 1, if you haven't seen it, please check that out. The Boys season 1 was really good.
Oh, I just finished that. I love The Boys.
The Boys,
I'm so hooked on it.
I still like the comic a lot better, but The Boys was still fun nonetheless.
Which one?
The Boys comic book is way.
Oh yeah, well I love that.
The series is actually not that bad.
Okay, cool.
Granted, they're trying to make Toronto look like New York and not doing a very good job at it.
Very good job at it at all. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
It definitely does not look like New York.
It's like, oh, good, they shot outside my office that day.
I want to give a shout out to, if you haven't been watching, if you're kind of conservative like I am a little bit, I am an old school lefty that is no longer a lefty. I am down the middle conservative certain ways, open to social stuff. So, but I watched Steven Crowder this month. He is putting everything in front of the paywall, so you don't have to be part of the mug club. He's putting morning shows on this because, he just wants to he can't save people, he says, so he wants to bring people entertainment. Dude, if you don't watch Steven Crowder, he's freaking hilarious, man. He has no inner monologue. He is very un-PC, and he shows out the hypocrisy of the Access Media. So he is on YouTube. Check him out. He probably had a live stream tonight, which will be rerun. So check out the Crowder Station. And also there was one other thing I was going to bring up, but I can't remember it now. Oh, if you haven't watched The Curse of Oak Island, it's awesome.
Yeah, I've watched that. That is also great. Yeah,
I love it.
Really good.
They
Those
can
two
find a piece of wood and I get a chubby. So
yeah, I know. It's amazing how much drama they can build around finding something that's so like insignificant.
Yes, but they have found some really
they have
stuff.
yeah.
I mean,
I don't know how far you got into it, but
I'm on this last season. Yeah, sure. No, there's boobs. Really you just got to keep watching. Just keep watching. It'll come.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Shout out your channel if you like. Let's start. Steven, what are you doing?
Hi, I'm author Stephen Walton. I've managed to achieve 642 subs in the last 2 weeks and keep it. Thank the gods. So please subscribe to my channel. Those subscribe to the panel. Check me out on what's the next show? Tomorrow, the fourth wave on my channel. And then TR4 on Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the Pegasus Actual Podcast, where my friend Script Doctor here will be with us if he doesn't fall asleep on the couch.
I gotta start sleeping. I gotta figure out a way to sleep in so I can be awake. Like tonight's a miracle, man.
And come check us out on Supreme Heretics channel, where we do a retro review of Battlestar Galactica. It's a real fun time, and we'd like to see you guys there if you're into that show. And if not, if you've never watched it, just come check it out. We've had a few people that have started watching it because of our reviews, and we'd love to have you try that out and be a part of the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Script Doctor?
So I'm the Script Doctor. I'm here doing the YouTubes and such. I'll be picking up my Batwoman reviews pretty soon. The most recent controversy I had was me calling out Sterling Gates on his terrible application of the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover that he did. Which got me blocked by a few writers, which made me laugh. But not Sterling Gates.
Wow.
He's actually I actually like him, and I'm probably one of the only friends he would have that would tell him when he did a shitty job and trying to make him do better.
You were canceled, Script. You had the wrong opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, for the writers that blocked me need to have thicker skins, especially if they're in this industry. I mean, that's just because I said nothing wrong and I didn't say anything that was a lie. Yes, Calamity Sci Shipyards. I do watch Batwoman, and I am a very, very poor man, but I have a good support system at home, so I can get through it. But yeah, I'll be starting to do those reviews, and if this quarantine thing keeps going, I will then, if I do get 1,000 subs, I'll start doing some live streams and bring you guys on, and we'll talk some weird stuff. I'll share some stories I have from the independent world.
Yeah. Where are you at subs? Where are you?
According to my email, because I am at 167 according to my email.
How is that even possible?
Oh man. Yeah, that's
Sub
way too low.
I don't. Whenever I go to my studio, I don't even know how to navigate it, other than like make my videos go live. Like that's basically all I know.
Are you adding tags?
Yeah, I'm adding tags.
Okay, good.
We'll talk right after this because
I don't know how to use my studio. I learned like a month and a half ago how to find comments.
Oh yeah,
nice. That's awesome.
It does take a little time to kind of learn and navigate, but there's a lot of good YouTube videos too. If you need to learn how to do something, just type in, search on YouTube. There's so many videos that tell you how to navigate and how to do things and find things that make it easier.
Yeah, definitely. So please, if you haven't subscribed to Script, please do. He's probably he's definitely the more in the know than most of us. So please check him out.
And I know we can't put any comments up on the screen, but I just want to mention that Tommy says Batwoman is his favorite show ever.
Oh, right on, Tommy. Stand up for what you like.
Yeah,
Don't let
them
tell you anything.
Stunning and brave.
It's getting a little weird, though. It is getting a little weird, but whatever. And Final, did I talk to you yet? What are you doing?
No, you've never talked to me. Thank you so much, Scott. I'm FinalDeathStar, and I have a YouTube channel called FinalDeathStar, and I also have a Twitter page called FinalDeathStar, and then the number 1. That's right, because I'm number 1 around these parts.
You are.
Yes. Yeah,
I was going to say something wrong, but I'm not going to.
We are live, Scott.
Yeah. I don't want certain family members to find these recordings. So go on.
Yes. So subscribe to my channel and check out my videos and my content. I think I'm going to start being able to put out some more next week. So I'll hopefully be putting out some more videos during the week, and I will be on the Fourth Wave tomorrow.
Nice, man.
There you go.
All right.
You were doing some great stuff, and you are just a go-getter.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I'm really proud of you, buddy.
Oh, wow. Such accolades.
Yeah,
we give reach arounds on this part.
Final time, homie.
It's final time, homie.
Final time, homie.
It is final time. So, thank you everybody for coming. You probably already subscribed to me. If you haven't, please do. I want to beat Stephen, even though he plays the game of whoever gets to 1,000 first. I want to beat him.
Well, I mean, you said in the private chat you're going to rap in a few, so I'm looking forward to what rap you have in store for us.
Oh, are you going to pull out like a president?
Well, I was thinking
Presidente
did it on the Fourth Wave, and I was like, well, why don't I?
Yeah.
So, Peter Parker. Okay. So yeah, please subscribe. Fourth Wave tomorrow night. We have a couple great guests. We have tentatively, I guess I'd like to say, because you never know what's going to happen, but we do have the Gospel, and that's Mark with a C, and we have Megs. So please check us out tomorrow night. I hope we helped you guys get through a little bit of this time of plagues and loneliness and sadness, like Steven's bathroom.
I'd also like to point out that even though Scott is awful at starting live streams and privates them when he puts the link out, he also gives everyone who has an aspiring channel the understanding of clickbait. You see, it says Friday night news dump, RiRi Machine, Amber Turd, and Ezra W. We talked about a total of 5 minutes of all of those things.
Yes.
Combined, yeah. 5 minutes combined.
And all you gotta do is mention them to get them in the Matrix.
Right.
That's it.
You know what I realized, and you know what? Gary gave us this advice on my first stream he jumped on, and I'm going with it now. And this stream made me realize it. I am going to post things I enjoy. I'm going back to A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm going to do more, Winds of Winter stuff, less of the crappy news shit that really just makes me want to put a freaking bullet in my brain, because it aggravates the shit out of me unless I really get angry. So I want to do stuff that I enjoy, and I'm realizing I get way more views when I do A Song of Ice and Fire. So that's another reason. So thank you everybody for coming. We're going to end this now and be awkward for just a moment, because the end never comes when you want. Everyone be safe, and remember, if they're calling you names, they're probably a dick like Steven.
So say we all.